Picture a time when the Earth was home to giant insects, as large as some modern mammals, flying through ancient, lush landscapes. This was the Carboniferous period, around 300 million years ago. Back then, the atmosphere was rich in oxygen, creating the perfect conditions for these massive creatures to thrive alongside diverse plant and animal life. Discover the fascinating story of these giant insects, from their place in prehistoric ecosystems to the reasons behind their extinction. Join us on a journey to explore the past and uncover insights that still resonate today. The geological era known for its giant insects is the Carboniferous period, which spanned from about 360 million years ago to around 300 million years ago. This era was marked by a warm climate and extensive forested areas, creating ideal conditions for the flourishing of life on Earth. The planet's atmosphere was rich in oxygen, with levels significantly higher than today. This abundance allowed insects to grow to extraordinary sizes, including species like the giant dragonfly, which boasted wingspans of nearly 2.5 feet. The Carboniferous also saw the emergence of large plants, including ferns and towering club mosses, forming vast swampy forests. These dense jungles provided ample habitats and resources for various species of insects. The high oxygen concentration contributed to their massive size, enabling them to outperform and outcompete other forms of life. These colossal arthropods were not just impressive in scale, they played a vital role in the ecosystems of their time. Additionally, the Carboniferous era was significant for the development of the first true forests, which functioned like our modern ecosystems, establishing a framework for the interactions between plants, animals, and insects. As these forests expanded, they allowed insects to adapt and evolve in exciting ways. Fossil evidence from this period has revealed a diverse array of insects, many of which bore little resemblance to their modern counterparts. Looking back, the giant insects of the Carboniferous remind us of how life has continually adapted to changing environments. Their existence showcases the intricate connections between atmospheric conditions, biological evolution, and ecosystem development, capturing the imagination of those who study Earth's vast history. Throughout Earth's history, the formation and breakup of supercontinents have had profound impacts on the planet's ecosystems, including the habitats of giant insects. The most significant supercontinent in our past was Pangaea, which existed around 300 million years ago. During this time, the world was drastically different. Dense forests, warm climates, and abundant vegetation provided an ideal environment for insects to grow to remarkable sizes. These giant insects thrived in high oxygen levels, which could reach concentrations higher than what we have today. As their habitats favored humid and warm conditions, insects adapted by evolving larger body sizes, which helped them compete for resources and avoid predators. However, the tale of these gigantic arthropods took a dramatic turn with the gradual breakup of Pangaea. This division caused vast changes in climate, geography, and biodiversity. As land masses drifted apart, ecosystems became isolated, leading to varied environments across different regions. This fragmentation created barriers that affected insect populations, including their sizes. Insects that had previously thrived in widely expansive areas now faced new environmental pressures, such as different climates and fewer resources. Over millions of years, these adaptations and constraints led to the emergence of smaller sizes in many insect species. The numerous barriers to migration also meant that certain species could no longer interbreed, leading to the evolution of unique characteristics. As the continents separated into the land masses we recognize today, local conditions dictated the traits that insects developed. While some habitats remained suitable for larger forms, such as tropical rainforests, others favored smaller body sizes. This shift not only limited the size of many insect species, but also had sweeping effects on the interactions between insects and their predators. Smaller insects were often better suited to their evolving environments, leading to a gradual decline in the dominance of their giant relatives. Today, remnants of those ancient giants, like the dragonfly, remind us of a time when insects roamed the earth with astonishing scales. Their evolution illustrates how continental drift and changing habitats shaped life in remarkable ways. This dynamic interplay between geography and biology continues to be a vibrant tapestry that highlights the fluid nature of life on our planet. The history of our continents is a living story that still resonates in the insect world, revealing that size and survival are always linked to the ever-changing Earth. During the Carboniferous period, which spanned from approximately 360 million to 300 million years ago, our planet was a vastly different place. This era was characterized by a warm climate with high humidity and abundant vegetation. The atmosphere was rich in oxygen, encoding it in environments that supported the growth of towering forests, dense with ferns and giant-scale trees. The elevated levels of oxygen may have been crucial in allowing insects to evolve to extraordinary sizes. The warmth and humidity created a paradise for a variety of insects, allowing them to thrive in lush, verdant ecosystems. Fossil evidence indicates that some of these insects, like the dragonfly relatives of today, were as large as a small bird with wingspans measuring over 2 feet across. Alongside these giants, other species, including massive millipedes and various types of beetles, flourished, taking advantage of the rich plant life that surrounded them. These climatic conditions fostered not just the survival, but also the evolution of diverse insect forms. They occupied numerous ecological niches, from voracious predators to decomposers of organic material. The absence of large vertebrate predators during this time, along with the expansive plant life providing both food and habitat, allowed these giant insects to dominate their environments. However, as climate patterns shifted and the Carboniferous gave way to the Permian period, environmental changes began to take hold. Cooler temperatures, fluctuations in sea levels, and the rise of larger terrestrial vertebrates gradually altered the ecosystems. These transformations led to a decline in the large insects, marking the end of their reign and paving the way for the insects that we recognize today. The legacy of those colossal creatures lives on, reminding us of an era when the Earth was home to a remarkable diversity of life in forms we can scarcely imagine. During the late Paleozoic era, particularly the Carboniferous period, atmospheric oxygen levels were remarkably high, estimated to be around 35%. This is a significant increase compared to today's oxygen levels, which hover around 21%. Such an abundance of oxygen allowed insects to grow to astonishing sizes. The high oxygen content influenced the physiological processes of these ancient creatures, particularly in their ability to breathe and metabolize energy efficiently. Insects, unlike most animals, breathe through a network of tubes called tracheae. This system allows for the direct exchange of oxygen with their tissues, bypassing the need for a circulatory system to transport oxygen. With more oxygen available in the atmosphere, insects could take in more of this vital gas, fueling larger bodies and more energy-intensive lifestyles. As a result, the Carboniferous period witnessed insects as large as a bird, such as the gigantic dragonfly-like Meganeura with a wingspan of nearly 2.5 feet. This extensive oxygen availability also contributed to a rich diversity of life forms in the ecosystem. Larger insects could exploit available resources more effectively, leading to the evolution of various species occupying different ecological niches. The lush, swampy environment of the time, with its abundant plant life, supported this amazing variety of insect life, creating a complex web of interactions as insects became crucial players in pollination and decomposition. However, as the Earth transitioned into the Permian period, atmospheric oxygen levels began to decline, which profoundly impacted insect size and life. With oxygen levels dropping, the conditions that had once supported such large insects no longer prevailed. Insects shrank to sizes more akin to those we see today, adapting to the changing environment as they continued to evolve over millions of years. This fascinating interplay between atmospheric conditions and life underscores the delicate balance of ecosystems through time. Giant insects roamed the Earth during the Carboniferous period, roughly 300 million years ago. During this time, the planet was a vastly different place, characterized by lush, swampy environments teeming with dense vegetation. The landscape was dominated by towering trees, enormous ferns, and vast coal-forming forests. This abundance of plant life provided not only oxygen, but also a rich food source for insect life. The atmospheric conditions of that era played a significant role in supporting larger insects. The oxygen levels during the Carboniferous were significantly higher than today, possibly reaching up to 35%. This increased availability of oxygen allowed insects, which breathe through tiny openings called spiracles, to grow larger than we typically see in modern times. Larger bodies could accommodate more air, enabling them to thrive and proliferate in these favorable conditions. In addition to the rich foliage, the warm, humid climate contributed to the diversity and size of insects. Habitat types ranged from dense forests to expansive marshlands, creating a variety of ecological niches for different species. These environments allowed giant insects to evolve and adapt, competing for resources among themselves and with vertebrates that were just beginning to flourish. However, as the climate began to change, particularly with the onset of the Permian period, oxygen levels started to decline. This gradual shift laid the groundwork for the decline of many of these enormous insects. In time, they were supplanted by smaller, more efficient forms that could thrive under the new atmospheric conditions, setting the stage for the insect life we recognize today. The story of giant insects is a fascinating glimpse into the interplay between environment and evolution across Earth's history. Volcanic activity played a crucial role in shaping the ecosystems where giant insects thrived millions of years ago. During the Paleozoic and Mesozoic eras, particularly the Carboniferous and Permian periods, volcanic eruptions contributed massive amounts of carbon dioxide and other gases into the atmosphere. This had a profound effect on global temperatures and climate. A warmer, more humid environment emerged, creating ideal conditions for lush vegetation and thriving ecosystems. The dense forests that flourished in these conditions produced abundant food sources for a variety of organisms, including insects. With the increased availability of oxygen, certain insect species were able to grow to impressive sizes, surpassing the dimensions of most modern insects. In fact, some species, like dragonflies, had wingspans of up to 2.5 feet. The high oxygen levels allowed these creatures to develop larger bodies and more efficient respiratory systems, making them successful apex predators of their time. Moreover, volcanic activity contributed to nutrient-rich soils, essential for plant growth. Ash and minerals released during eruptions added essential elements to the Earth, stimulating plant diversity and productivity. This abundance of plant life, in turn, provided shelter and resources for insects to thrive and diversify further. The interconnectedness of flora and fauna was a key dynamic in shaping these vibrant ecosystems, where giant insects could flourish. Eventually, however, changes in volcanic activity and other geological shifts led to alterations in climate and ecosystems. This highlights the delicate balance between environmental factors and biological evolution. As ecosystems shifted, the once dominant giant insects faced new challenges, ultimately leading to their decline and the emergence of different species better suited to changing conditions. This fascinating interplay between volcanic activity and life on Earth paints a vivid picture of our planet's dynamic history and the evolution of its diverse inhabitants. The evolution of giant insects is a fascinating chapter in our planet's history, intricately linked to ancient sea levels and ocean circulation patterns. During the Carboniferous period, approximately 300 million years ago, sea levels were significantly higher than they are today. The abundance of shallow seas served as a vast habitat for a diversity of marine life, while simultaneously transforming the terrestrial environments where insects flourished. This unique setup created a rich, humid climate, allowing insects to thrive and grow to sizes that seem truly astonishing by modern standards. Ocean circulation at the time played a crucial role in shaping the climate, and consequently, the habitats available to these giant insects. Warm, nutrient-rich waters circulated widely, generating high levels of oxygen in the atmosphere, which is essential for the growth of large organisms. Warm, nutrient-rich waters circulated widely, generating high levels of oxygen in the atmosphere, which is essential for the growth of large organisms. Insects, particularly, benefited from this oxygen-rich air, as many species utilize a process called diffusion to breathe. Larger body sizes allowed for a more efficient oxygen exchange, as there was simply more surface area available. Additionally, the interplay between seawater and atmospheric conditions influenced land ecosystems. Coastal regions provided lush environments ideal for giant vegetation, creating expansive habitats for large insects to thrive. A plethora of food sources, combined with favorable climatic conditions, supported the growth of incredibly large insects, some of which could reach sizes comparable to today's birds. As the geology of our planet transformed over millions of years, shifts in sea levels and changes in ocean currents led to the gradual decline of these colossal creatures. The burgeoning forests became fragmented, habitats shifted, and oxygen levels fluctuated. With such biological pressures mounting, the age of giant insects faded, leaving us with a puzzling yet fascinating legacy of how interconnected our planet's marine and terrestrial environments truly are. During the era of giant insects, which thrived in the Carboniferous period around 300 million years ago, the Earth's atmosphere was remarkably different from what we breathe today. This period was characterized by higher levels of oxygen, reaching as much as 35% compared to the 21% we encounter now. Such elevated oxygen levels played a crucial role in enabling insects to grow to enormous sizes, as their respiratory system, which relies on diffusion, could support larger bodies in oxygen-rich air. The climate during this time was generally warm and humid, thriving in extensive swampy environments filled with lush vegetation. These conditions fostered a rich diversity of plant life, including giant ferns, club mosses, and horsetails. The dense forests created a unique ecosystem, providing ample food sources for herbivorous insects and ample habitats for predatory species. As a result, the combination of abundant vegetation and high humidity influenced both the diversity and size of insects that evolved during this period. Moreover, the meteorological conditions of the Carboniferous contributed to unique life cycles and behaviors among these giant insects. Seasonal cycles of rainfall and drought influenced how these creatures interacted with the ecosystem. Many insects exhibited aquatic life stages, developing in the abundant freshwater bodies that dotted the landscapes. The environmental features, such as swamps and rivers, also provided vital niches for insects, facilitating their growth and reproduction. Interestingly, these atmospheric and meteorological phenomena laid down the groundwork for future ecological developments. As giant insects dominated the skies and the land, they played a pivotal role in shaping the ecosystems of their time. Their presence influenced the evolution of other organisms, including the ancestors of modern birds and mammals, setting the stage for the complex interrelations seen in much later eras. Thus, the era of giant insects was not just a remarkable chapter in the history of entomology, it was a critical period in the evolution of life on Earth. During the era of giant insects, which thrived in the Paleozoic epoch, particularly during the Carboniferous period, the landscape was dominated by lush vegetation. This period, spanning from around 300 to 350 million years ago, saw the rise of ferns, club mosses, and cycads. These plants flourished in a warm, humid climate that blanketed much of the Earth's surface, creating extensive forests where giant insects could thrive. The abundant flora played a crucial role in supporting these massive insects, For instance, ferns and lycopods, with their towering heights and ample foliage, provided not only shelter but also a rich food source for herbivorous insects. In fact, these plants were so dominant that they contributed significantly to the oxygen levels in the atmosphere, often exceeding today's levels. This high concentration of oxygen allowed insects to grow much larger than those we see today, as their respiratory systems could operate more efficiently in such an enriched environment. Additionally, the decomposition of plant material led to the accumulation of vast amounts of organic matter in the soil, fostering the growth of microorganisms that further supported the food web. The supportive environment fostered by these flourishing plants allowed insects to evolve and adapt to their surroundings, resulting in the emergence of some of the largest insect species in Earth's history. Giant dragonflies with wingspans of nearly 2 feet and massive millipedes were commonplace, showcasing the remarkable diversity of life during this time. As climatic conditions shifted and the flora started to diminish, so too did the size of insects. The gradual decline in oxygen levels and changes in habitat made it less viable for such giant insects to survive. The relationship between the abundant flora and these incredible insects illustrates the intricate connections that have always existed in our planet's ecosystems, shaping life as we know it. Giant insects once roamed the Earth, especially during the Paleozoic era when they flourished in a warm, humid climate. These massive creatures, some with wingspans measuring over 2 feet, played essential roles in their ecosystems. They were not only apex predators, but also critical components of the food web. By preying on smaller creatures, they helped to maintain population balances, ensuring that no single species would dominate and disrupt the ecological harmony. In addition to their predatory roles, giant insects contributed to plant pollination and seed dispersal. With their large bodies and proportional reach, they could access flowers and plants that smaller insects often could not. This behavior helped promote plant diversity by enabling the cross-pollination of various plant species, which is vital for producing new varieties and maintaining genetic diversity. As the plants evolved alongside these giants, they further enriched their habitats, creating niches for countless other species. Giant insects also contributed to soil health. As they decomposed and provided organic matter through their waste, they enriched the soil, improving its fertility. This process not only benefited plant life, but also supported a plethora of other organisms, from microscopic bacteria to larger herbivores, creating a well-rounded ecosystem rich in biodiversity. Their sheer size and abundance must have rendered them significant contributors to the overall productivity of their environments. The extinction of many of these giant insects, often due to changing climates and ecosystems, altered the dynamics of life on Earth. While modern insects may not reach such sizes, the legacy of these colossal creatures continues to inform our understanding of the importance of biodiversity. By examining how they thrived in their ecosystems, we gain deeper insights into the balance needed to sustain life on our planet today. During the Paleozoic era, specifically in the Carboniferous period, giant insects flourished, reaching remarkable sizes. This era saw the emergence of creatures like dragonflies, with wingspans nearing 2.5 feet and giant millipedes stretching over 8 feet long. The abundant oxygen in the atmosphere at the time, which was around 35% compared to today's 21%, played a crucial role in enabling these insects to grow larger than any we see today. The presence of these massive insects significantly impacted the food chain and the overall ecological balance. As primary consumers, they fed on an extensive variety of plants, which were also more plentiful and diverse during this time. Their size meant they could access nutrients that smaller insects inevitably missed, and in turn, they provided a substantial food source for larger predators like amphibians and early reptiles that were also evolving during this period. Additionally, giant insects played an essential role in pollination and seed dispersal, contributing to the evolution of plant life. Some scientists posit that the diversification of flowering plants during the Mesozoic may have been at least partly driven by the biotic interactions with these enormous insects. Their behavior and feeding habits could have shaped plant communities, influencing which species thrived and which dwindled. The decline of giant insects coincided with significant environmental changes, including the rise of birds and mammals, which created new competitive dynamics. As oxygen levels decreased and climate conditions evolved, the once thriving ecosystems that supported these colossal creatures adapted into new forms. Understanding the role of giant insects provides valuable insight into how organisms interact within ecosystems and how dramatic changes can lead to the emergence of new species while shaping the patterns we see in today's living world. During the era of giant insects, which thrived millions of years ago, the relationships they had with other organisms were vital for their survival and ecosystem function. One of the most notable examples is the relationship between some giant insects and the plants they inhabited. Insects like the prehistoric dragonflies, with wingspans reaching nearly 2.5 feet, played crucial roles in pollination. As these insects fed on the nectar of plants, they inadvertently transferred pollen, helping to fertilize and reproduce many of the flora they visited. Another intriguing relationship involved giant insects and various symbiotic microorganisms. Some of these massive creatures harbored bacteria within their guts that helped them digest tough plant materials. This cooperation was essential as it allowed these insects to access nutrients that would otherwise be difficult to break down. In return, the bacteria received a stable environment and food source. This relationship exemplifies how complex and interdependent ecosystems can become, even from simple interactions. Additionally, larger predators like giant spiders and wasps likely interacted with these enormous insects, with some potentially preying on them. This predator-prey dynamic would have created a balance within the ecosystem, preventing any single species from dominating the landscape. The existence of such relationships highlighted the intricacies of these ecosystems, where giant insects were not just passive inhabitants, but active players in the survival of many other species. Finally, the decline of giant insects can also be linked to the changes in these symbiotic relationships as the Earth's atmosphere and climate shifted. As the climate evolved and oxygen levels decreased, it became less favorable for these massive insects to thrive. The intricate web of symbiotic relationships they had depended upon was disrupted, leading to their eventual extinction. This underscores the delicate balance that exists within ecosystems and how interconnected every organism truly is. The extinction of giant insects dramatically reshaped the ecosystems in which they thrived. During the Paleozoic era, some insects grew to astonishing sizes, aided by the high levels of oxygen present in the atmosphere at the time. These massive creatures occupied crucial roles as herbivores, predators, and scavengers, influencing the food webs and nutrient cycling within their habitats. With the decline of these giant insects, which happened over millions of years, the ecosystems experienced key shifts. For instance, the reduction of herbivorous giants led to changes in plant life. Many plants that had evolved to coexist with these large herbivores were no longer grazed upon as their size diminished. This shift likely allowed for the proliferation of smaller plants and changes in the overall landscape, ultimately affecting the variety and distribution of plant species. Predatory relationships also evolved as smaller insect species emerged to fill the roles once held by the giants. These smaller insects adapted to the new environments, leading to a diversification in the insect population. As these new species rose in dominance, they created different ecological interactions, altering the dynamics of predator and prey relationships. This allowed for the emergence of entirely new niches within the ecosystem that had to adapt to the absence of the giant insects. The extinction of these colossal insects triggered wide-ranging ecological transformations. From changes in plant communities to the evolution of new insect species, their disappearance paved the way for the diverse ecosystems we observe today. The legacy of these giant creatures continues to resonate throughout the natural world, highlighting the interconnectedness and fragility of life on Earth. Giant insects once roamed the Earth during the Paleozoic era, and their impact on ancient ecosystems was profound. By understanding their roles as pollinators and seed dispersers, we gain insight into the delicate web of life that existed millions of years ago. These massive creatures, like dragonflies with wingspans reaching nearly 3 feet, were not only formidable hunters but also crucial participants in their environments. Many of these large insects, including the ancient relatives of modern bees and butterflies, contributed to pollination in ways similar to today's pollinators. Flowering plants began to diversify during the Mesozoic era, and giant insects provided an effective means of transferring pollen from one blossom to another. Their size allowed them to access a wide range of plant species, thereby promoting genetic diversity and the evolution of new plants. The interplay between these insects and plants likely shaped the very landscapes they inhabited. In addition to pollination, giant insects played a role in seed dispersal. Some of these creatures might have consumed seeds and then transported them to new locations where they could germinate and grow. This natural movement contributed to the distribution of plant species across various habitats, fostering rich and diverse ecosystems. As they moved between environments, these insects helped establish and maintain the balance of their ecological communities. The eventual decline of these giant insects can be attributed to various factors, including changing climate conditions and the emergence of small, nimble competitors. Nonetheless, their legacy remains. The intricate relationships they fostered are echoed in today's ecosystems. As we marvel at the complexity of life, the stories of these ancient giants remind us of the interconnectedness of all living beings, even in the vast timeline of Earth's history. During the Paleozoic era, particularly in the Carboniferous period, the world was home to colossal insects that could grow to sizes unimaginable today. These giant arthropods, fueled by higher oxygen levels in the atmosphere, created a unique ecological landscape. As a result, other animal species had to adapt in fascinating ways to coexist with these dominant giants. One of the primary responses to the presence of large insects was a shift in predatory behavior among other species. Smaller vertebrates, such as early amphibians, began developing more agile hunting techniques to evade or confront these giants. Their skeletal structures evolved to allow quicker movements, helping them escape from potential threats and even become nimble hunters themselves, targeting smaller insects that were more manageable. Additionally, some species evolved to occupy different ecological niches. For instance, certain reptiles might have adapted a more nocturnal lifestyle, taking advantage of the cover of darkness to avoid giant insects and compete in the shadows. This nocturnal behavior not only provided safety, but also opened up new feeding opportunities that were not available during the day when these massive insects were most active. Moreover, the competition for resources led to innovative adaptations in reproduction and growth. Smaller species often reproduced at a faster rate, allowing them to quickly fill niches left by larger insects that might have become less dominant over time. This dynamic interaction illustrates how life on Earth has constantly been a balancing act between growth and survival, with each adaptation contributing to the ever-evolving web of life. The giant insects may have ruled the skies, but in their shadow, a new array of life forms was emerging to ensure their own survival. During the age when giant insects roamed the Earth, particularly in the Carboniferous period around 300 million years ago, a unique array of predators also emerged. Among these fearsome hunters were early amphibians. These primitive vertebrates had adapted to life both in water and on land, giving them an advantage as they developed specialized feeding strategies to capture larger insects. The presence of these predators likely exerted significant evolutionary pressure, driving insects to adapt in various ways. As the competition for survival intensified, different evolutionary pathways opened up for insects. Some developed exoskeletal defenses, making it tougher for predators to bite through their armor. From the evolution of robust wings, allowing for agile escapes to the development of camouflage and mimicry, these adaptations became essential for survival in a world where predatory threats were increasingly sophisticated. These interactions highlight a fascinating aspect of evolution known as coevolution. where two species, like predators and their prey, influence each other's development over time. Interestingly, during this period, arachnids, including ancient relatives of spiders and scorpions, also became formidable predators. They adapted to exploit the vulnerabilities of these giant insects, employing methods like ambush and silk traps. Just like the early amphibians, these creatures instigated further adaptive responses in insects, leading to even greater diversity in their physical traits and behaviors. This dynamic back and forth created an intricate web of life, fostering a rich biodiversity. Ultimately, the complex interplay of predation and adaptation shaped not only the form of insects, but also influenced ecosystems and food webs across ancient landscapes. Understanding these ancient predator-prey relationships allows us to appreciate the delicate balance of evolutionary forces that has continued to shape life on Earth through the ages. The physiology of giant insects, which thrived during the Carboniferous period over 300 million years ago, was remarkably different from that of modern insects. One of the critical differences was in size. Some of these ancient insects reached astonishing lengths, with certain species of dragonflies having wingspans of nearly 2.5 feet. This extraordinary size was largely due to the higher levels of oxygen in the atmosphere at that time, which allowed these creatures to grow larger than we see today. Another major difference lay in their respiratory systems. Modern insects utilize a system of tiny tubes known as tracheae to transport oxygen directly to their tissues. This system is efficient but limits the size of these creatures. In contrast, giant insects were better able to extract oxygen from the air due to their larger surface area, allowing them to thrive in environments with elevated oxygen concentrations. In addition to their respiratory adaptations, giant insects possess structural features that supported their hefty bodies. For instance, many had reinforced exoskeletons that provided needed support and protection. The sheer weight and size also led to changes in leg and wing structures. Some giant insects had longer legs and more robust wings, which helped them navigate their environment and maintain stability while flying or crawling. Interestingly, these giant insects eventually disappeared as atmospheric conditions changed and competition from smaller, more versatile species increased. Their story provides a glimpse into the evolutionary adaptability of insects. Today, while we may be fascinated by the idea of giants from our past, modern insects showcase a fascinating array of adaptations that have allowed them to survive and flourish in diverse environments around the world. Giant insects, which thrived during the Carboniferous period, owe much of their success to specific anatomical features that were well adapted to their environment. One of the most critical adaptations was the presence of a highly efficient respiratory system. Unlike mammals, insects breathe through a network of tiny tubes called tracheae. This system allowed them to absorb oxygen directly from the air, a necessity in an era when atmospheric oxygen levels were significantly higher than they are today. This efficient oxygen exchange supported their large body sizes, allowing them to grow to extraordinary proportions, such as the dragonflies with wingspans reaching 2.5 feet. Another remarkable feature was their exoskeleton, made primarily of chitin. This hard outer covering provided essential protection against physical damage and predation and helped prevent dehydration in humid environments. As these insects grew, their exoskeletons would need to be shed through a process called molting. This ability to maintain a rigid yet flexible structure enabled giant insects to thrive in diverse ecosystems, from lush forests to wetlands. Giant insects also benefited from a unique body plan that allowed them to inhabit various ecological niches. Many of these species developed specialized adaptations for locomotion, such as larger wings and stronger legs, which offered greater maneuverability and the ability to access different food sources. This versatility was crucial in a time when competition for resources was fierce, as it allowed them to exploit their environment fully. Finally, their size likely conferred certain advantages in predation and survival. Larger insects could dominate smaller prey and deter potential predators. The scale of these creatures also meant they had fewer natural enemies. However, as environmental conditions changed over millions of years, including fluctuations in oxygen levels and climate, many of these colossal insects eventually went extinct. Yet, studying their anatomical features provides valuable insights into the evolutionary dynamics that shaped the history of life on Earth. Millions of years ago, Earth was home to an astonishing variety of giant insects. During the Carboniferous period, which spanned from about 360 to 300 million years ago, these colossal arthropods, including dragonflies with wingspans up to 2 feet, thrived in an oxygen-rich environment. Their respiratory systems were unique and significantly different from those of modern insects, primarily due to the atmospheric conditions and evolutionary adaptations of the time. Today, insects rely on a network of tubes called tracheae to transport oxygen directly to their tissues. This system does not involve lungs. Instead, air enters the body through tiny openings on the exoskeleton known as spiracles. As oxygen flows through the tracheae, it diffuses directly into the cells. However, this system has its limitations. Larger insects today can struggle to get enough oxygen through diffusion, which is why most modern insects are much smaller than their prehistoric counterparts. In contrast, the giant insects of the past benefited from the higher levels of oxygen in their environment. The abundant oxygen allowed them to grow much larger because their tracheal systems were efficient enough to supply the required oxygen to sustain their massive bodies. Researchers suggest that the larger the insect, the more spiracles it would need, granting it better access to oxygen-rich air. This evolutionary advantage supported their growth, enabling forms and sizes that seem almost fantastical by today's standards. This fascinating glimpse into the life of giant insects not only showcases the compelling interplay between environmental conditions and biological design, but it also reminds us how the complexities of nature can lead to remarkable diversity. Understanding these ancient systems offers insight into the past ecological dynamics on our planet, as well as the limits imposed by evolutionary changes that we still observe in contemporary insects. Giant insects, which thrived during the Paleozoic era, particularly in the Carboniferous period, possessed remarkable adaptations that enhanced their sensory perception. One of the most notable features was their large size, which allowed for an expanded surface area, facilitating improved sensory capabilities. As these creatures grew to incredible proportions, their exoskeletons evolved in ways that supported greater sensory functions. Their compound eyes became more sophisticated and larger, providing a wider field of vision. This adaptation was crucial for navigating their often dense and humid environments, as well as for spotting predators and prey. These oversized eyes could detect movement and changes in light more effectively than those of smaller insects, granting them a significant advantage in survival during a time when the world was teeming with life. Moreover, these giant insects had enhanced antennae, which allowed them to pick up on a wider range of chemical signals in their environment. The antennae functioned like highly sensitive whiskers, helping them detect pheromones and other chemicals crucial for communication and locating food sources. This adaptability played a vital role in the behavior and ecology of these impressive creatures, enabling them to thrive in their diverse habitats. The evolution of giant insects came with an extraordinary suite of sensory adaptations. Their large compound eyes and sensitive antennae were crucial for their survival during a time when giants roamed both the land and the sky. The enhanced sensory perception allowed them to interact effectively with their environment, making them formidable inhabitants of their ecosystems. The size of animals, particularly large ones, plays a crucial role in how they move and navigate through their environment. In general, larger animals tend to have different locomotion strategies compared to their smaller counterparts. Larger creatures often face challenges due to the effects of gravity. Their sheer weight requires adaptations in their limbs and musculoskeletal systems to support their bulk and allow for movement. Imagine a giraffe or an elephant. Their legs are not just long but also exceptionally sturdy, enabling them to bear their weight and traverse vast distances. Conversely, smaller animals can enjoy greater agility and speed. Tiny creatures such as mice or insects can dart through narrow spaces and evade predators with ease. Their size allows them to make quick turns and rapid movements, essential traits for survival in a world filled with dangers. For instance, a small bird can maneuver effortlessly through trees, while larger birds might struggle to navigate tight spaces. This difference impacts their hunting and foraging strategies, as smaller beings can exploit niches that larger animals cannot reach. Interestingly, size also affects the sensory mechanisms animals use for navigation. Larger animals often depend more on their vision, using it to scan their environment from a distance. In contrast, smaller animals may rely more heavily on smell and touch, allowing them to sense predators or food sources close to the ground or in their immediate surroundings, and interacts with it. Ultimately, the relationship between size and locomotion creates a fascinating tapestry of life on our planet. It highlights the intricacies of evolution, illustrating how different sizes lead to unique adaptations that help species thrive in their respective environments. From the mighty stride of an elephant crossing the savanna to the agile flick of a sparrow beneath dense foliage, the wonders of size showcase the diverse strategies organisms have developed to navigate their worlds. Giant insects, which roamed the Earth during the Carboniferous period, possessed a fascinating array of defensive mechanisms to protect themselves from predators and competitors. One of the most notable traits of these colossal creatures was their sheer size. Some insects could reach lengths of over a foot, creating a formidable presence that likely deterred many would-be attackers. Larger bodies can intimidate smaller predators, making a giant insect appear less palatable or harder to swallow. In addition to their size, many giant insects evolved robust exoskeletons, which served as natural armor. This hard outer shell made it difficult for predators to bite through, offering protection from sharp mandibles and talons. Some species even developed spiny or serrated edges on their exoskeletons, adding an extra layer of defense. This adaptation not only repelled attackers, but also made them less appealing as a meal. Camouflage was another vital strategy employed by these insects. By mimicking their surroundings, whether it was the texture of leaves or the bark of trees, these creatures could hide in plain sight from keen-eyed predators. Some giant insects may have displayed colors or patterns that blended with their environment, rendering them nearly invisible to those looking for a quick meal. Finally, some giant insects utilized behavior as a defensive mechanism. For instance, they could exhibit rapid evasive movements when threatened, allowing them to escape before a predator could strike. Others may have used chemical defenses, releasing unpleasant substances to deter attackers or signal that they were not a tasty option. Together, these various adaptations enabled giant insects to thrive in their ecosystems and avoid becoming someone else's dinner. Giant insects present a fascinating chapter in the history of life on Earth. These colossal creatures, such as the dragonfly-like Meganeura or the enormous griffinflies, thrived during prehistoric epochs, showcasing remarkable adaptations that set them apart from their smaller relatives. One essential factor influencing their biology was the availability of atmospheric oxygen, which was significantly higher during the Carboniferous and Permian periods. This rich oxygen supply allowed these insects to grow to sizes not seen today, as their respiratory systems, primarily reliant on diffusion, could support larger bodies. Different species of giant insects exhibited diverse adaptations in their life cycles and reproductive strategies. For instance, some giant dragonflies engaged in a process called oviposition, where females laid thousands of eggs in water or moist environments to ensure the survival of their young. This method provided a suitable habitat for nymphs, which often were aquatic and emerged as adults after a lengthy growth period, sometimes lasting several years. Meanwhile, other species displayed a more terrestrial lifestyle, laying eggs in the soil and producing hatchlings that matured rapidly into adults. Another key aspect of their biology was the development of strong exoskeletons and specialized mouthparts. For example, prehistoric insects like the giant stick insects evolved to have robust limbs and unique feeding mechanisms to navigate their environments. These adaptations not only improved their chances of survival, but also expanded their ecological roles, some becoming apex predators of their time. As the Earth's climate changed and oxygen levels decreased, these giant insects gradually vanished. The conditions that once favored their colossal forms no longer supported their existence. Their decline marks a crucial transition in evolution as insect sizes shrank, giving rise to the diverse and adaptable insects we know today. The story of giant insects highlights how interconnected biology and environmental conditions are in shaping life on Earth, revealing a past filled with both wonder and incredible diversity. The ancient Earth teemed with giant insects, some reaching sizes that seem unimaginable today. These colossal creatures flourished during the Carboniferous period, approximately 300 million years ago, and their exceptional size can largely be attributed to their unique exoskeleton structure. Unlike vertebrates, insects have a hard outer shell known as an exoskeleton, made primarily of chitin. This tough, flexible material provided essential protection and support for their massive bodies. One significant advantage of this exoskeleton was its ability to provide structural support without requiring a skeleton inside, as seen in larger animals. The exoskeleton functions like a suit of armor, enabling insects to sustain great weight while maintaining functional mobility. Moreover, the rigidity of the exoskeleton helps counteract the force of gravity, allowing these insects to grow larger than today's average species, which often have limits due to their respiratory systems. Interestingly, the gaseous composition of ancient Earth also played a role in the growth of these giants. During the Carboniferous period, levels of oxygen in the atmosphere were much higher, estimated at around 35%. This increased oxygen availability could support larger body sizes, as it allowed for more efficient respiration through the insect's tracheal system, a network of tubes delivering oxygen directly to their tissues. Larger insects could effectively transport oxygen, enabling them to reach impressive sizes without succumbing to limitations of their respiratory systems. Ecosystem dynamics also contributed to the era's giant insects. The abundance of lush vegetation provided ample food sources, supporting larger insect populations. Additionally, fewer predators meant that these massive insects could thrive without the threat of being hunted. The exoskeleton of these enormous insects was not merely a protective layer. It was a functional structure that, combined with environmental factors, allowed them to grow to extraordinary sizes in an ancient world teeming with possibilities. During the Carboniferous period, which spanned roughly 300 million to 350 million years ago, the Earth experienced conditions that favored the evolution of gigantic insects. One of the most significant factors was the high levels of oxygen in the atmosphere, which could reach up to 35% compared to the 21% we see today. This surplus of oxygen allowed insects to grow larger than their modern counterparts as they breathed through tiny openings called spiracles. More oxygen enabled better respiration, leading to larger body sizes. Another crucial factor contributing to insect gigantism was the abundance of lush vegetation during this period. Vast rainforests teemed with plant life, providing ample food sources. The expansive habitats and plentiful resources created opportunities for insects to thrive and diversify. Insects were not just consumers. They played vital roles in pollination and decomposing plant material, which further supported their growth and evolution in these rich environments. Additionally, the absence of many predators that are common today created a safer environment for these large insects. While today's ecosystems include a wide variety of birds and mammals that prey on insects, the Carboniferous period lacked these types of predators. This absence allowed insects to grow larger without the immediate threat of being hunted. As such, these evolutionary pressures fostered a unique ecosystem rich in diversity, featuring insects like dragonflies with wingspans of up to 2.5 feet. The combination of high atmospheric oxygen, abundant food sources, and the relative safety from predators created a perfect storm for insect gigantism. This era stands as a testament to how environmental conditions can shape the course of evolution, leading to extraordinary biological adaptations that we now only glimpse in the fossil record. Giant insects, those remarkable creatures that once roamed the Earth, have captivated our imagination and prompted endless questions about their evolution. Back during the Carboniferous period, approximately 300 million years ago, global conditions were vastly different from today. The planet was home to an abundant supply of oxygen in the atmosphere, often reaching levels about 50% higher than current levels. This surplus allowed insects to grow larger than we might ever see today. The anatomy of insects, particularly their respiratory system, plays a crucial role in their size. Insects breathe through tiny openings in their exoskeleton called spiracles. As they increase in size, their ability to take in oxygen diminishes because their passive respiratory system relies on diffusion. However, with elevated oxygen levels, these creatures could grow to astonishing dimensions, allowing some species, like ancient dragonflies, known as meganeura, to have wingspans of nearly 2.5 feet. Additionally, the ecological landscape of the time contributed to this evolution. The Carboniferous period was marked by lush forests and wetlands, providing various habitats and abundant food sources. The lack of large vertebrate predators gave insects the freedom to evolve without immediate threats, facilitating their impressive size expansion. Warmer climates and a diversity of plant life also supported the complex ecosystems necessary for these large insects to thrive. However, as the Earth's atmosphere evolved and the oxygen levels decreased in subsequent geological periods, the age of the giant insect came to an end. The rise of larger terrestrial vertebrates further pushed these massive insects out of ecological balance. Ultimately, the combination of atmospheric changes, ecological dynamics, and evolutionary pressures shaped the fascinating history of giant insects, leaving us to ponder what other extraordinary wonders past life forms may have held and what their existence teaches us about adaptation in our ever-changing world. Throughout Earth's history, environmental changes have profoundly influenced the evolution of species, particularly for giant insects. During the Paleozoic era, roughly 300 million years ago, the atmospheric conditions were markedly different than they are today. Oxygen levels were significantly higher, reaching up to 35% compared to the current 21%. This rich oxygen environment allowed insects to grow to astonishing sizes, with some species reaching a wingspan of more than 2 feet. As these giant insects thrived, their adaptations were closely tied to the conditions of their habitats. For instance, the warm, humid climates of the Carboniferous period created lush, dense forests that provided an abundance of food. Giant insects, such as dragonflies and grasshoppers, took advantage of this, developing unique features like larger wings and more powerful flight capabilities. These adaptations not only helped them escape predators, but also allowed them to access new ecological niches and compete more effectively for food resources. However, as the planet's climate evolved, particularly with the advent of the Permian period, oxygen levels began to decline. The dramatic shifts in global temperatures and atmospheric composition brought about new challenges. As forests transformed and habitats changed, the larger-bodied insects found it increasingly difficult to survive. They faced limitations due to their size, such as increased energy demands and the structural challenges posed by thinner air. This evolutionary pressure led to a gradual decline in size over millions of years, favoring smaller insects that could better cope with the changing environment. The legacy of these changes is evident in today's insect population. Though we no longer see the titanic forms of the distant past, the ancestry of these giant insects is woven into the tapestry of modern ecosystems. The story of their evolution serves as a reminder of the delicate interplay between life and the environment, a reminder that adaptation is an ongoing process shaped by the world around us. The era of giant insects is a fascinating chapter in Earth's history, primarily located during the Carboniferous period, around 300 million years ago. During this time, insects grew to extraordinary sizes, with some resembling modern-day mantis shrimp but significantly larger. Understanding the mechanisms behind this incredible growth involves a combination of genetic adaptations and environmental conditions. First, the atmospheric conditions were markedly different from today. The Carboniferous period featured elevated levels of oxygen, possibly reaching up to 35%. Such conditions would have enhanced the efficiency of respiration in insects, which breathe through tiny openings in their bodies called spiracles. With more oxygen available, their respiratory systems could support larger bodies, which is critical because insects lack lungs, relying solely on passive diffusion for oxygen intake. Genetically, insects possess a unique growth pattern known as molting. They shed their exoskeletons multiple times throughout their lives, making room for larger body sizes. This molting process, combined with the abundance of resources during this period, likely allowed insects to tap into the full potential of their size. Additionally, genetic variations within these insect populations could have resulted in different traits that favored larger sizes, such as enhanced strength and better adaptations to their environments. Finally, environmental factors played a crucial role as well. The Carboniferous period boasted lush, sprawling forests and wetlands, providing a bounty of food sources for these massive insects. With plenty to eat and relatively few predators, the stage was set for these creatures to thrive and grow to sizes we can only imagine today. The combination of genetic potential and favorable environmental conditions created a perfect storm, allowing insects to reach remarkable sizes that have since fascinated scientists and enthusiasts alike. The theory of natural selection explains how certain traits become more common in a population over generations. In the case of giant insects, which are often seen in the fossil record, the process operated much like it does in smaller species today. These large insects, which thrived during periods like the Carboniferous period, evolved adaptations that suited their environments, helping them survive and reproduce. One of the major factors contributing to their size was the higher levels of oxygen present in the atmosphere during that time. With more oxygen available, insects could grow larger, and this size offered several advantages. For instance, larger insects may have been better at avoiding predators due to their intimidating presence. Additionally, being bigger can help with thermoregulation, allowing these creatures to control their body temperature in varying climates. However, size also poses challenges, especially in terms of mobility and finding food. Natural selection would favor those individuals that, despite their size, could effectively navigate their environments and secure sufficient resources. Those who were able to evolve traits that improved their foraging or evasion techniques likely had a better chance of surviving and passing on their genes to the next generation. Ultimately, the interplay of environmental factors, resource availability, and predation created a dynamic ecosystem in which giant insects thrived. The fascinating remnants of these creatures tell us not only about their lives, but also about the fundamental principles of evolution that still apply today. This intricate dance of survival amid changing conditions shaped the trajectory of insect evolution in ways that continue to inspire curiosity in scientists and enthusiasts alike. Giant insects once roamed the Earth in a time long before the age of dinosaurs, during a period known as the Carboniferous, approximately 300 million years ago. Fossil evidence reveals astounding creatures, some with wingspans exceeding 2 feet. The most famous of these giant insects is the dragonfly-like predatory insect known as Meganeura, which was as large as a modern hawk. Other fascinating finds include massive millipedes and cockroach-like creatures, providing significant insight into the diversity of life during this time. One reason these insects could grow to such formidable sizes lies in the higher levels of oxygen present in the atmosphere during the Carboniferous period. Scientists believe that the oxygen concentration may have been as much as 35% compared to the current level of around 21%. This higher oxygen level enabled insects, which breathe through a system of tubes known as tracheae, to deliver oxygen efficiently throughout their bodies, allowing them to attain larger body sizes than we see today. Fossils contribute not just to our understanding of size, but also to the evolution of features. For example, the preserved wings of ancient insects show variations that hint at the early development of flight. Fossilized exoskeletons reveal adaptations such as increased strength and size that may have aided survival in their environments. Each fossil discovery helps to piece together the ecological roles these giant insects played, suggesting they were not merely large versions of modern species, but had unique adaptations and behaviors. The remarkable fossil record of these ancient giants paints a vivid picture of the planet's past. Such fossils not only ignite our imagination, but serve as critical elements in understanding how evolutionary pressures and environmental conditions can shape the lives of organisms. Through studying these remnants, scientists can glean insights not just into insect evolution, but also into the broader tapestry of life on Earth and how it has changed over eons. Giant insects roamed our planet long before the arrival of humans, filling a variety of ecological niches across different regions. A fascinating aspect of these colossal creatures is how their size varied significantly depending on their environment. For instance, during the Carboniferous period, around 300 million years ago, insects like dragonflies could grow up to 2 feet across. This era boasted high oxygen levels, which likely allowed insects to flourish and expand in size beyond what we see today. The variations in size and anatomy can often be linked to specific habitats and geographical conditions. In tropical regions, insects tended to be larger, with some species evolving impressive wingspans and body lengths. These adaptations may have been crucial for survival, enabling them to escape predators or find mates more effectively. In contrast, insects in harsher environments, like deserts, often exhibited smaller, stockier features to help manage water loss and cope with extreme temperatures. Insects also adapted structurally to their environments. For instance, giant beetles from the tropics have evolved wider bodies to support their growth, while their counterparts in colder regions might have developed more compact forms to conserve heat. The anatomical differences highlight the incredible adaptability of insects and how evolutionary pressures shape their physical characteristics according to the resources and challenges they face in their unique habitats. Overall, the world of giant insects provides a remarkable glimpse into how biology and environment interact. As these creatures adapted to local conditions, they remind us that size is not just a matter of genetics, but also a dynamic response to the world around them, a journey shaped by ancient climates and ecosystems that allowed these extraordinary beings to thrive. The evolution of giant insects is a fascinating story, intertwined with competition and environmental factors that shaped their development over millions of years. During the Carboniferous period, around 300 to 400 million years ago, conditions on Earth were incredibly favorable for insect growth. High levels of oxygen, moisture-rich habitats, and an abundance of plant life created an ideal environment. This evolutionary setting allowed insects to flourish, but competition for resources played a critical role in their size and adaptability. One of the key dynamics in this evolutionary process was competition for food and habitat. Insects that could adapt to a wide range of diets and environments were more likely to succeed. Larger size often provided advantages. For instance, bigger insects could access food sources that smaller ones could not, such as leaves at the tops of trees. Additionally, predators began to emerge during this time, leading to a natural selection process where size could provide advantages in both predation and defense. Larger insects not only could consume more abundant food, but were also better equipped to escape from or intimidate smaller predators. As the competition among insects intensified, many species evolved strategies to outcompete others. This included developing specialized feeding mechanisms or the ability to fly longer distances, reaching more resources. The quest for survival and dominance led insects to have various adaptations, such as stronger exoskeletons, better camouflage, or more effective reproductive strategies to ensure future generations thrived despite the fierce competition. Interestingly, while giant insects may evoke images of a singular evolutionary pathway, it is essential to remember that multiple factors influence their growth. Climate changes, the rise of amphibians and reptiles, and shifts in flora also played significant roles in their life cycles. Eventually, as the world transitioned to lower oxygen levels and more diverse forms of life emerged, the era of giant insects came to an end, leaving behind intriguing fossils and deep mysteries about their past. Through understanding the role of competition, we gain insight not just into the size of these creatures, but into the broader narrative of life's adaptation and evolution across the ages. To study the fossils of giant insects, scientists employ a variety of methodologies that blend traditional paleontological techniques with modern technologies. One of the primary methods involves fieldwork, where researchers scour sedimentary rock formations. These rocks offer clues to ancient environments where these colossal insects once thrived. By carefully excavating these sites, scientists often find fossilized remains, which can provide vital information about the size, anatomy, and even behavior of these prehistoric creatures. Once fossils are collected, another crucial step follows: preparation and analysis in the laboratory. Paleontologists use microscopic tools to examine the fine details of the fossil structure. They take advantage of imaging techniques such as scanning electron microscopy, which allows them to visualize the minute features of the insect's body. This level of detail can reveal how these insects were adapted to their environments, including features like wings, legs, and mouthparts, offering insights into their biology and ecology. Additionally, isotopic analysis plays a pivotal role in understanding the life history of giant insects. By examining the chemical signatures preserved within the fossils, scientists can infer information about the climate during the time these insects lived. This data provides a context for why these insects may have grown to their massive sizes, linked to factors like higher oxygen levels in ancient atmospheres. Lastly, computer modeling has become increasingly valuable in reconstructing the life processes of giant insects. Scientists can create simulations to explore how these insects might have moved, hunted, or interacted with their environments. This approach paints a comprehensive picture of their existence, connecting ancient ecosystems to modern knowledge, and unveils the extraordinary adaptations that allowed these insects to thrive in a world vastly different from our own. Giant insects have made a significant impact on popular culture, often shaping how people perceive both insects and the broader concepts of nature and science. From classic movie monsters to modern video games, these colossal creatures often embody our fears and fascinations. The imagery of oversized bugs, like those found in films such as Them from the 50s or Starship Troopers in the 90s, has created a lasting impression, associating large insects with danger and the unknown. This portrayal has fed into a collective anxiety about nature being uncontrollable and threats lurking just beneath our surface. Moreover, these giant insects often symbolize deeper societal concerns. They can represent mankind's struggles against environmental issues or even highlight the consequences of genetic engineering and scientific experimentation gone wrong. For instance, in movies and literature, these creatures frequently arise from human interference with nature, forcing audiences to confront the ramifications of technological advancement. Films like Mimic illustrate how these colossal insects provoke both horror and moral dilemmas, leading viewers to question their relationship with the environment. In addition to horror and science fiction, giant insects have found a niche in more light-hearted mediums as well, such as animated shows and children's literature. These portrayals often strip away the menace and instead emphasize curiosity or humor. This can lead to a dichotomy in public perception. While some see giant insects as terrifying symbols of chaos, others might view them as fantastical creatures that provoke awe and wonder. Ultimately, popular culture serves as a mirror, reflecting our fears while simultaneously shaping our understanding of real insects. Though actual insects are vital components of our ecosystems, The exaggerated versions we witness in various media prompt us to think critically about our environment and the intricate balance of nature. Thus, giant insects occupy a unique space in our cultural imagination, allowing us to explore important themes while also reminding us of the power of nature, both terrifying and magnificent. Recent discoveries have shed fascinating light on the life of giant insects, transforming our understanding of these remarkable creatures from prehistoric times. Fossils unearthed in various parts of the world have shown that some insects, such as dragonflies, once boasted wingspans nearly 2.5 feet wide. This is astonishing, especially when we consider that today's largest flying insects are much smaller. This dramatic size difference prompts us to explore what helped these insects thrive in such large forms. One key factor behind the existence of these giant insects appears to be the atmospheric conditions of the Earth during the Paleozoic era, around 300 million years ago. During this period, the atmosphere contained significantly higher levels of oxygen, up to 35% compared to the 21% we breathe today. Scientists propose that this abundance of oxygen facilitated larger body sizes because insects breathe through a network of tubes. The increased oxygen availability would allow them to support larger tracheal systems, enabling greater metabolic activity and size. Additionally, the absence of large vertebrate predators during the time when these insects flourished allowed them to evolve without the same survival pressures faced by today's smaller species. Interestingly, as the planet's ecosystem evolved and the oxygen levels began to decline, so too did the size of insect species. This trend underscores the intricate relationship between biology, environmental conditions, and evolutionary pressures. Studying the life of these giant insects not only fascinates entomologists and paleontologists, but also enriches our understanding of the evolution of life on Earth. These discoveries prompt us to ponder the extensive variety of forms that life can take, shaped by the delicate balance of atmospheric conditions, resources, and ecological demands. Each fossil we uncover acts as a window into a world vastly different from our own, yet fundamentally tied to the Earth we inhabit today. Scientists are fascinated by the world of giant insects that roamed the Earth hundreds of millions of years ago. To reconstruct their behavior and habitats, researchers employ a combination of fossil evidence, modern analogues, and advanced technology. Fossils serve as the primary source of information, providing physical evidence of the insect's size, structure, and even parts of their anatomy, like legs and wings, helping scientists piece together how these creatures might have lived. One key aspect of their reconstruction process involves studying the environmental conditions of the time. Scientists analyze sedimentary rock layers to infer how the climate and atmosphere differed from today. For instance, during the Carboniferous period, when many giant insects thrived, oxygen levels were significantly higher, allowing insects to grow larger than what we see in modern ecosystems. By understanding these ancient environments, researchers can gain insights into the habitats where these creatures might have flourished. In addition to fossil and environmental analysis, scientists often look at the behavior of contemporary insects that share similar traits with these giants. Observing how modern insects interact with their environment, including their feeding habits, mating rituals, and predatory behaviors, can shed light on how their extinct relatives may have operated. This comparative biology helps to bridge the gap between the lives of extinct and living species. Technological advancements have also played a crucial role in this research. Techniques such as three-dimensional imaging and computer simulations allow scientists to create digital models of giant insects and analyze their movements and potential behaviors. By bringing together fossils, environmental studies, and modern behavioral insights, researchers can recreate a more complete picture of how these incredible creatures lived and adapted in their ancient world. The quest to understand giant insects not only reveals the wonders of evolution, but also invites us to ponder the vast diversity of life that once thrived on our planet. Insects have long captivated our imaginations, particularly those of the giant variety that roamed the Earth during the Carboniferous period. This era, dating from around 360 million to 300 million years ago, was marked by high oxygen levels and a warm climate, conditions that allowed insects to grow to astonishing sizes. Recent technological advances have significantly enhanced our understanding of these colossal creatures, shedding light on their biology and ecology. One major development is the use of high-resolution imaging techniques, such as microcomputed tomography, which allows scientists to visualize the internal structures of fossils without damaging them. This technology reveals intricate details of the anatomy of giant insects, providing insights into their respiratory systems, which were crucial for supporting their large sizes. By analyzing these structures, researchers can infer how ancient atmospheric conditions led to the evolution of such impressive creatures. Additionally, advances in molecular biology and genetics have opened new doors. Scientists can extract and analyze genetic material from fossilized remains, enabling them to compare ancient insect genomes with those of modern relatives. This comparative approach helps scientists understand the evolutionary pathways that led to the massive sizes of these insects and how they adapted to their environments. The findings suggest that these giants had unique adaptations, such as more efficient respiratory systems and specialized feeding mechanisms. Finally, computer modeling plays a significant role in recreating the ecosystems of the Carboniferous period. By simulating the interactions between giant insects, plants, and other organisms, researchers can develop a clearer picture of how these massive creatures thrived in a world very different from ours. These models help scientists hypothesize about the factors that contributed to their size and eventual decline, enriching our overall understanding of the interconnectedness of ancient life. Through these technologies, what was once mere speculation now evolves into a fascinating narrative of life on Earth millions of years ago. When we think of giant insects, often our imagination wanders to a time when these creatures roamed the Earth in sizes that seem almost impossible today. Some of the most significant archaeological sites for unearthing these ancient giants are found in regions rich in fossil deposits, where conditions were favorable for fossilization millions of years ago. One notable location is the Green River Formation, located in parts of Colorado, Utah, and Wyoming in the United States. This site is renowned for fossils dating back to the Eocene epoch, around 50 million years ago. Here, paleontologists have discovered a variety of insect fossils, including dragonflies with wingspans close to 2 feet. The warm, shallow lakes of this region created an ideal environment for insects to thrive and, crucially, to be preserved over time. Another important site is the Jehol Biota in northeastern China, which dates back to the early Cretaceous period, around 130 million years ago. This area has yielded remarkably well-preserved fossils, including large dragonflies, and might even include evidence of ancient butterflies. The stunning preservation in this region offers a glimpse into a world where insects were not only large, but also incredibly diverse. Additionally, sites in Germany, particularly the Solnhofen limestone, provide insights into the Jurassic period, around 150 million years ago. Here, fossils of exquisitely preserved insects, including giant mayflies, have been discovered alongside famous fossils of Archaeopteryx, the first known bird. These sites collectively tell a fascinating story of how, in specific environments during different geological periods, insects grew to sizes that sometimes rival those we see today in reptiles. These ancient ecosystems reveal a time when our planet was an intricate tapestry of life, much of it a testament to the power of evolution working in the vast tapestry of Earth's history. The study of giant insects, often referred to as megafauna in the insect world, offers fascinating insights into climate change and environmental shifts. By examining the fossil records of these creatures, scientists can glean valuable information about past climates. For instance, insects that lived millions of years ago during the late Carboniferous period were significantly larger than those we see today. This size difference is closely linked to the oxygen levels in the atmosphere, which were much higher in those ancient times. As researchers analyze the size and distribution of these prehistoric insects, they can trace how environmental conditions have evolved. Climate shifts, such as increases in temperature or changes in vegetation, directly influence insect populations. For example, scientists observe that certain insect species thrive in warmer temperatures or respond quickly to shifts in their habitats. By studying their adaptations, we can gain important clues about how current insect life may react to ongoing climate change. Additionally, giant insects act as ecological indicators. Their presence or absence in a particular environment can reveal much about the health of that ecosystem. When environmental conditions deteriorate, whether due to pollution, deforestation, or rising temperatures, certain insect populations decline. These changes can serve as early warnings for broader ecological impacts, emphasizing the ripple effects climate shifts can impose on entire ecosystems. Dissecting the relationship between giant insects and their environments allows scientists to piece together the puzzle of our planet's history. By understanding the past, we enhance our ability to predict the future, offering essential perspectives on how today's climate change will shape life on Earth, both big and small. Giant insects have long fascinated scientists and enthusiasts alike, serving as a remarkable window into the complexities of evolutionary biology. One of the most compelling aspects of studying these colossal creatures is how they reveal the conditions of ancient Earth. During the Paleozoic era, particularly in the Carboniferous period, certain insects grew to sizes much larger than those we see today. This phenomenon prompts important questions about the environmental factors that supported such gigantism, including atmospheric oxygen levels, climate, and available resources. The study of these prehistoric giants also sheds light on the principles of natural selection and adaptation. Researchers explore how the size of certain insects may have been advantageous for survival. Larger body sizes could have offered benefits such as improved predation, resistance to desiccation, and the ability to exploit specific ecological niches. This evolutionary trajectory offers critical insights into how species adapt to their environments over time, demonstrating how both biological and ecological factors intertwine in shaping life on Earth. Moreover, the fossil records of giant insects provide a timeline that traces the history of life. By examining various fossilized remains, scientists can piece together shifts in biodiversity and understand how past mass extinctions impacted insect evolution. This aspect is particularly important as it illustrates the resilience of life. Despite environmental upheavals, certain traits, such as size, evolved in specific lineages, leading to an impressive variety of insects that still exist today. Ultimately, these giant insects are not merely relics of the past. They are crucial elements that inform our understanding of evolution. They challenge our assumptions about size and survival, providing a rich tapestry of information that connects ancient ecosystems to contemporary biological principles. The story of giant insects is vast and intricate, reflecting the ongoing dialogue between life and its environment throughout the ages. The story of giant insects is a fascinating chapter in the history of life on Earth. During the Carboniferous period, approximately 300 million years ago, the planet was a lush paradise of extensive forests and swamps. The atmosphere was rich in oxygen, containing levels much higher than what we see today. This abundant oxygen played a pivotal role in the growth of large-bodied insects, offering them the necessary resources to thrive and evolve into impressive sizes, with some even reaching the size of small airplanes. Microorganisms, including bacteria and fungi, were also crucial players in this ancient ecosystem. They help decompose organic matter and recycle nutrients in the environment. This decomposition process released essential elements back into the soil and atmosphere, providing a nutrient-rich habitat that supported not just plants, but also the massive arthropods that were emerging during this time. The thriving forests and nutrient-rich soils worked together in fostering larger prey and increased competition, driving the evolutionary changes in these insects. However, as the Earth's climate shifted, and the oxygen levels began to drop millions of years later, the impact on these giant insects became profound. With reduced oxygen availability, the body size of these insects could no longer be sustained. The microorganisms that had supported them by breaking down organic material were also unable to keep up with changes in the ecosystem, leading to a decline in food sources. This troublesome combination of factors meant that only the smaller insects could adapt and survive. Microorganisms and the environment played an incredible dual role in the saga of giant insects. They initially supported their growth and prosperity through nutrient cycling and decomposition, but as conditions changed, these same factors contributed to their decline. This interplay paints a vivid picture of how interconnected life is on Earth, demonstrating that even the smallest organisms can have monumental impacts on the evolution and survival of larger species. Fungi played a crucial role in the ecosystems inhabited by giant insects, which thrived during the Paleozoic era millions of years ago. These massive insects, such as dragonflies with wingspans reaching up to 2 feet, emerged when atmospheric conditions and ecological interactions were vastly different from today. The presence of fungi was key to nutrient cycling in these ancient systems, helping to break down organic matter and recycle vital nutrients back into the environment. In these primordial landscapes, fungi acted as decomposers, breaking down dead plant and animal material. This decomposition process released nutrients like nitrogen and phosphorus, which were essential for the growth of flora that in turn supported the gigantic insect population. With large plants and abundant food sources, giant insects were able to flourish, showcasing their extraordinary adaptations and sheer size. Moreover, fungi formed symbiotic relationships with plants, particularly through mycorrhizal associations. These partnerships allowed plants to absorb water and nutrients more efficiently, which created a more hospitable environment. As these lush ecosystems thrived, they provided habitats and food for giant insects, enhancing their survival and diversity during a period of significant evolutionary advancement. Ultimately, the interplay between fungi, plants, and the giant insects highlights the complexity of ancient ecosystems. Although these enormous insects have long vanished, their existence provides valuable insights into the interdependence of organisms within an ecosystem and shows us how vital fungi were in maintaining the balance of life during a remarkable chapter in Earth's history. During the age of the dinosaurs, our planet was dominated by colossal insects. These giant creatures, some reaching lengths of over 2 feet, were not only impressive in size, but also played a vital role in the ecosystems of their time. Understanding their interactions with microorganisms provides fascinating insights into their biology and lifestyle. Giant insects, like their modern counterparts, often battled parasites and developed symbiotic relationships with various microorganisms. Parasites, which can live on or inside an organism, may have targeted these giant insects, affecting their health and survival. Interestingly, some modern insects have evolved strategies to deal with such threats, including grooming behaviors and the production of antimicrobial substances. It is likely that giant insects possessed similar adaptations, helping them combat the parasites seeking to exploit their size. On the other hand, symbiotic microorganisms contributed positively to the life of these insects. Many insects today engage in mutually beneficial relationships with bacteria or protozoa. These microorganisms can aid in digestion or offer protection against pathogens. For instance, certain bacteria found in the guts of insects help break down complex plant materials, allowing them to access nutrients that would otherwise remain locked away. It stands to reason that giant insects could have also fostered such relationships, enhancing their survival in a world filled with competitors and challenges. Furthermore, examining fossilized evidence and analyzing the decay patterns of ancient insects helps scientists piece together these interactions. By studying the remains and environments of these giant forms, researchers gather clues about how these creatures coexisted with microorganisms. Such examinations highlight not only the diversity of life that once thrived on Earth, but also the intricate connections that underpin ecosystems, revealing just how intertwined the lives of giant insects and microorganisms truly were. Microbial life plays a crucial role in the ecosystems of giant insects, such as those from the Carboniferous period, which existed over 300 million years ago. In these lush habitats, microscopic organisms, including bacteria and fungi, served as essential decomposers. They broke down the remains of dead plants and animals, recycling nutrients back into the soil, which in turn supported new plant growth. This ongoing cycle was vital for sustaining the large populations of insects that thrived during this time. The breakdown of organic matter by microbes is not just about decay, it is a complex interaction involving various species working together. As they decompose materials, microbes convert complex organic compounds into simpler forms that are easier for plants to absorb. This transformation ensures that essential nutrients like nitrogen and phosphorus are made available, allowing plants to flourish and thereby supporting the massive herbivorous insects that relied on them for food. In the moist environments where these giant insects lived, microbial life also played a part in regulating soil quality and health. Healthy soils teeming with microbes helped retain moisture and improve aeration, which are crucial for plant roots. This efficient nutrient cycling and soil enhancement meant that giant insects were not only abundant but also diverse, leading to a variety of species that adapted to various ecological niches within their ecosystems. The contribution of microbial life to decomposition and nutrient cycling in giant insect habitats was profound. These tiny organisms were the backbone of the food web, enabling plant growth and supporting the insect populations that dominated the landscape. Through their activities, microbes ensured that the cycle of life continued, showcasing the intricate connections between life forms, no matter how large or small. During the age of the dinosaurs, particularly during the Carboniferous and Permian periods, our planet was home to an impressive variety of giant insects. These massive creatures, some of which could grow to be the size of a small dog, thrived in a warm, humid atmosphere rich in oxygen. Here they soared above lush vegetation and intricate ecosystems, relying heavily on their environment for sustenance. However, just like today, even these colossal insects faced health threats from microbial diseases. Microbial diseases caused by bacteria, fungi, and viruses infiltrated the lives of these giant insects. The consistent threat of pathogens would have played a significant role in determining not only their health, but also their evolutionary success. When conditions allowed, these microbes could exploit the physiology of their hosts, often leading to illness and potentially death. A weakened insect was less capable of competing for food or avoiding predators, which could significantly affect its population. Interestingly, the very structure of these colossal insects, such as their exoskeletons and breathing systems, influenced their vulnerability to microbial infections. Insects, being cold-blooded, require specific environmental temperatures to thrive, and fluctuations could affect not just the insects, but also the microbes that preyed on them. During periods of environmental change, such as significant shifts in climate, pathogens could proliferate more quickly, leading to outbreaks that might decimate certain insect populations. In attempting to survive these microbial threats, giant insects evolved various natural defenses. Some may have developed stronger immune responses, while others might have changed their behaviors in order to avoid disease-ridden environments. The interplay of these massive insect populations and the microbial world reminds us of an essential truth in nature. Even the mightiest species must contend with the unseen forces of disease that can shape their existence and ultimately their destiny. The late Paleozoic era, around 300 million years ago, was a transformative period for life on Earth, particularly for insects. During this time, atmospheric oxygen levels soared, reaching concentrations significantly higher than what we experience today. This increase in oxygen was largely due to the flourishing of vast, swampy forests that produced oxygen through photosynthesis. The rich supply of oxygen had far-reaching effects on the physiology and behavior of many organisms, notably insects. Insects breathe differently than most animals. Instead of lungs, they have a network of tiny tubes known as tracheae that deliver air directly to their tissues. When oxygen levels are elevated, these tracheal systems can efficiently transport this vital gas throughout the insect's body. As a result, insects were able to grow larger than their modern counterparts. For example, the dragonflies of that era boasted wingspans up to 2.5 feet, a staggering size compared to today's species. This phenomenon of gigantism in insects is not solely attributed to oxygen availability, but it played a crucial role. Larger sizes could also offer advantages in predatory or reproductive effectiveness. Being bigger allowed some species to have fewer natural predators and access a wider range of habitats. As these giants roamed, they filled ecological niches similar to the larger animals we know today, showing how oxygen can influence evolutionary paths in remarkable ways. However, this era of giant insects did not last forever. As the planet's ecosystems evolved and atmospheric oxygen levels fluctuated, these massive insects gradually diminished in size, leading to the smaller forms we see now. The legacy of their sheer size serves as a powerful reminder of how environmental factors can leave an indelible mark on the evolutionary trajectory of life on Earth. The fascinating world of insects during the time of giants, specifically in the Carboniferous period, offers a captivating glimpse into the interplay between biology and environmental conditions. At this time, which stretched from approximately 360 to 300 million years ago, the Earth was a veritable paradise for large insects. The lush, swampy landscapes were rich in essential elements and nutrients that greatly supported their growth. Chemical elements found in the soil, such as carbon, oxygen, and nitrogen, played a fundamental role in this unique ecosystem. The atmospheric oxygen levels were significantly higher than what we experience today, estimated to be around 35%. This richer oxygen environment allowed for larger body sizes, as the insects relied on a process called passive diffusion for respiration. The more oxygen available, the larger they could grow without facing the limitations of their respiratory systems. Additionally, the nutrient-rich soils contributed to the development of vast forests and plant life, providing ample food sources for these giant arthropods. The decomposition of organic matter in these environments released nutrients that enriched the soil, promoting lush vegetation. More vegetation meant more potential for food sources, enabling insects to thrive and evolve into larger forms to exploit these opportunities. In conclusion, the growth of giant insects was influenced by a complex combination of environmental conditions and the presence of vital chemical elements in the atmosphere and soil. This interplay fostered an ecosystem that allowed these extraordinary creatures not only to survive, but to reach sizes beyond what we can observe in today's insect world. The legacy of that time continues to intrigue scientists and enthusiasts alike, reminding us of the delicate balance between life and environment across the ages. The evolution of giant insects is a fascinating chapter in the history of our planet, and it ties closely to the composition of the Earth's atmosphere. During the Paleozoic era, particularly in the Carboniferous period, the atmosphere was rich in oxygen, boasting levels significantly higher than what we experience today. This higher concentration of oxygen likely played a critical role in the growth and size of insects, as they rely on a system of tracheae, tiny tubes that deliver oxygen directly to their tissues. With increased oxygen, these tracheal systems could transport oxygen more efficiently, allowing insects to achieve larger body sizes than we see presently. Some species, such as the Meganeura, a dragonfly-like creature, had wingspans that stretched over 2 feet. This phenomenon can be compared to today's conditions, where the lower oxygen levels impose a limit on insect size, resulting in smaller, more efficient forms. Simply put, the rich atmosphere of the past provided the right conditions for colossal adaptations. Beyond oxygen levels, changes in the Earth's climate and atmospheric pressure would also have influenced insect physiology. For instance, during periods of higher temperatures and humidity, insects thrived, developing diverse adaptations for survival. Warmer climates allowed for a longer growing season, resulting in more generations of insects, which could lead to greater size and diversity over time. Today, as we observe a shift in our own atmosphere due to human activity, we can't help but wonder how the future might mirror the past. Will changes in our climate lead to new adaptations? While it's unlikely we will see a return of giant insects, the history of their evolution emphasizes the profound relationship between atmospheric conditions and the development of life on Earth, showcasing a delicate balance that has changed remarkably over hundreds of millions of years. The air that filled the atmosphere hundreds of millions of years ago was vastly different from what we breathe today. During the Carboniferous period, approximately 300 million years ago, oxygen levels reached astonishing heights, hovering around 35% compared to the 21% we experience now. This rich atmosphere allowed for larger organisms to thrive, particularly insects, which could grow to sizes previously thought impossible. Insects rely on a system known as the tracheal respiratory system, which delivers oxygen directly to their cells. The effectiveness of this system greatly depends on the concentration of oxygen in the air. With such elevated oxygen levels, insects could extract sufficient oxygen to sustain larger bodies, leading to the emergence of giants like the dragonfly-like Meganeura, which boasted a wingspan of nearly 2.5 feet. This size not only provided greater mobility, but also offered advantages in predation and reproduction. Moreover, the prehistorical environment was characterized by lush vegetation, which contributed to a stable climate and abundant food sources. The combination of high oxygen levels and plentiful resources allowed these giant insects to flourish. They evolved in an ecosystem that was favorable for their survival, enabling them to occupy various ecological niches. The story of prehistoric air and larger insects is a reminder of how interconnected our planet's chemistry is with the evolution of life. The conditions that allowed for these remarkable creatures also set the stage for the complex ecosystems we see today, showcasing the delicate balance that exists in Earth's atmosphere and its influence on the life forms it nurtures. Carbon dioxide, or CO2, plays a fundamental role in shaping ecosystems, influencing everything from plant growth to the health of various animal species. During the Carboniferous period, which lasted from approximately 360 million to 300 million years ago, the atmosphere was rich in carbon dioxide. This abundance helped create lush forests and extensive swampy areas filled with towering ferns, which provided an ideal habitat for a diverse range of life, including insects that grew to astonishing sizes. With higher levels of carbon dioxide, photosynthesis rates surged. Plants converted this gas into energy at an accelerated pace, which led to increased vegetation and food sources in those ecosystems. The thick, oxygen-rich air resulting from the photosynthetic activity provided a perfect environment for insects to thrive. Notably, many of these insects, like the ancient dragonfly relatives, evolved to impressive proportions, achieving wingspans as wide as 2 feet. The link between high carbon dioxide levels and the evolution of giant insects is both remarkable and critical to understanding ancient Earth. As the climate shifted over millions of years, the carbon dioxide levels gradually decreased. Changes in the environment inevitably led to shifts in the flora and fauna. As the forests shrank and oxygen levels fluctuated, giant insects gradually diminished in size. This was not just a simple reduction in their stature, but rather a significant transformation in the ecosystems they inhabited. Smaller insects began to dominate, adapting to the new conditions in which they could survive more easily. This story of carbon dioxide and its effects on giant insects illustrates the delicate balance between atmospheric composition and biological evolution. It serves as a reminder of how interconnected life is to our planet's changing climate. Understanding these ancient ecosystems helps scientists predict how modern-day organisms might respond to current and future shifts in our own atmosphere and climate. Through the lens of history, it becomes clearer just how crucial carbon dioxide is, not only to the growth of plants, but also to the grandeur of life on Earth. During the era when giant insects roamed the Earth, particularly during the Carboniferous period, their primary predators were not mammals, reptiles, or birds, as we might assume today. Instead, the most notable predators were other large arthropods, primarily predatory insects and ancient arachnids, as well as some large amphibians. Among the most formidable hunters during this time were enormous dragonflies and their close relatives, which could boast wingspans of nearly 2 feet. These predators possessed exceptional aerial skills, allowing them to approach their prey quietly and capture them mid-flight. With their large, multifaceted eyes, they had almost a 360-degree view, which helped them spot smaller insects from great distances. Their mandibles were well developed, enabling them to grasp and pierce the tough exoskeletons of their victims. Another significant predator was the ancient arachnid called the sea scorpion, or eurypterid. These creatures varied in size, with some growing to be over 2 feet long. They actively hunted in water and on land, using their keen sense of touch to detect movements. With specialized limbs that acted like pincers, they could snatch smaller insects or other arthropods that wandered too close, delivering a swift, lethal strike. Interestingly, these giant predators thrived in a world abundant with oxygen, which allowed them to grow to such impressive sizes. The interplay between predator and prey in this ancient ecosystem underscores the complexity of evolutionary dynamics, revealing how these enormous insects and their equally impressive hunters helped shape the balance of life millions of years ago. Giant insects, which roamed the Earth during the Paleozoic era, have long fascinated scientists and enthusiasts alike. The sheer size of these prehistoric creatures allowed them to utilize a variety of defense mechanisms that were both unique and effective against predators and environmental threats. Among the most notable strategies was their impressive armor. Many giant insects developed thick exoskeletons, providing a tough barrier that protected them from physical attacks. In fact, some species sported spiny projections or even spikes, deterring potential threats and making it difficult for predators to get a grip. Another fascinating aspect of giant insects' defense was their ability to blend into their surroundings. Many of these creatures evolved sophisticated camouflage, allowing them to mimic leaves, bark, or other elements of their environment. This adaptation was particularly crucial in densely populated habitats, as it helped them evade both larger predators and smaller threats. By remaining undetectable, they were able to live longer and reproduce more successfully, passing on their advantageous traits. Some giant insects also employed more active forms of defense, such as mimicking certain behaviors or using their size to intimidate. For instance, when threatened, some species adopted a defensive posture, raising their limbs or expanding their bodies to appear larger. This display served as a warning to potential predators, signaling that they were not easy prey. In addition, some insects had the ability to release unpleasant chemical substances as a deterrent, further dissuading predators from approaching. Finally, group behavior played a significant role in their defense mechanisms. Many giant insects lived in colonies or swarms, which acted as a collective defense against threats. By banding together, they could increase their overall size and confuse or overwhelm predators, making it more challenging for an individual to be singled out. This social strategy not only provided safety in numbers, but also allowed for enhanced communication about environmental dangers. Together, these adaptations illustrate how giant insects not only thrived in their ecosystems, but also mastered the art of survival in a world filled with ongoing threats. Giant insects, which roamed the Earth during the Carboniferous period, employed a range of fascinating strategies for camouflage and evasion from predators. Among these strategies was the use of coloration and body patterns that blended seamlessly into their surrounding environments. This form of protective coloration would include shades of green and brown, mimicking the foliage or bark of trees. These insects might have had mottled patterns reminiscent of the textures found in their habitats, thus deceiving hungry predators who relied on sight. Another compelling tactic involved physical adaptations that enhanced their ability to go unnoticed. Many giant insects were equipped with flattened bodies, which allowed them to hide within crevices and beneath leaves. This body shape provided the perfect disguise, making it difficult for predators to spot them. Additionally, after landing, some of these creatures could remain perfectly still, mimicking elements of their environment, such as twigs or dead leaves, further diminishing their chances of detection. Behavior played a crucial role in their survival as well. These giant insects likely exhibited behaviors such as staying inactive during the day when predators were most active and becoming more mobile at night. This nocturnal activity allowed them to take advantage of darkness to forage for food while minimizing the risk of being seen. Such patterns of activity were fundamentally rooted in their need to ensure survival in a world filled with terrifying predators. Moreover, some giant insects might have employed the use of warning colors or mimicry, pretending to be unappealing or even dangerous. This strategy relies on the notion that potential predators learn to avoid brightly colored creatures that could be toxic or harmful. By adopting such tactics, these insects established a presence that was both elusive and unpredictable, effectively navigating the vast challenges posed by their prehistoric environment. In doing so, they thrived during a period when the air was thick with giant predators, showcasing the remarkable evolutionary adaptations developed over millions of years. The evolution of giant insects, a fascinating chapter in Earth's biological history, was profoundly influenced by predation pressure. During the late Paleozoic era, roughly 300 million years ago, the atmospheric conditions were significantly different than today. Elevated levels of oxygen allowed for insects to grow larger than those seen in modern times. However, this increase in size also meant these creatures had to contend with a variety of predators, pushing them toward evolutionary adaptations that could enhance their survival. As prey figures grew larger, so did the threats looming over them. Giant insects became part of an intricate web of life, facing predation from emerging species and various environmental pressures. This arms race between predator and prey influenced the development of physical traits in insects, such as tougher exoskeletons, better camouflage, and advanced sensory perception. These adaptations were crucial for evading predators and thriving in an increasingly competitive ecosystem. Moreover, predation pressure played a key role in shaping reproductive strategies. Larger size often required a longer maturation period and more energy to develop. In response, some species evolved faster reproductive cycles or produced more offspring. These strategies ensured that even in the face of predation, the chances of survival were boosted through sheer numbers, allowing species to endure in challenging environments. As the pressures from predation intensified, it carved pathways of diversification, leading to a wide variety of insect forms. Eventually, these evolutionary adaptations paved the way for the modern insects we observe today. While many giant insects disappeared, understanding their evolutionary journey offers valuable insights into how life on Earth has continuously adapted to survive in the face of changing environmental and predatory challenges. The fossil record provides us with fascinating evidence of predator-prey interactions that involved giant insects, particularly during the Carboniferous period, which lasted from about 359 to 300 million years ago. During this era, atmospheric oxygen levels were significantly higher than they are today, often reaching up to 35%. This surplus of oxygen allowed insects like dragonflies to grow to astonishing sizes, with wingspans exceeding 2 feet. These large insects were not just impressive in size, they played crucial roles in their ecosystems as both predators and prey. Paleontologists have discovered well-preserved fossilized remains of giant insects alongside fossils of their predators. One of the most telling pieces of evidence comes from the discovery of fossils of larger arthropods, such as ancient amphibians and early reptiles, which suggest that these creatures preyed upon giant insects. The presence of bite marks on insect fossils indicates direct interactions, showcasing a predator-prey relationship that affected both populations. Additionally, the orientation and position of these fossils often hint at how these interactions unfolded millions of years ago. Fossilized habitats, like ancient forests and swamps, also provide us contextual clues about the interactions of these large insects with their environment. The presence of pollen and plant remains found alongside these fossils suggests that giant insects played a significant role in pollination long before flowering plants became dominant. This relationship illustrates a complex web of dependencies between species, emphasizing the intricate balance of ecosystems even at such ancient times. Beyond mere size, the diversity of giant insects highlights the variety of roles they played. Some were likely scavengers, while others were formidable hunters, preying on smaller animals. Understanding these dynamics paints a compelling picture of the evolution of predator-prey relationships and ecological complexity on Earth, showcasing a time when life flourished in ways that stir our imagination today. The extinction of giant insects, which roamed the Earth hundreds of millions of years ago during the Carboniferous and early Permian periods, can be traced to several key factors. At the height of their existence, these massive creatures were able to thrive in an oxygen-rich atmosphere that provided them with the necessary resources to grow to extraordinary sizes. Fossil evidence suggests that some dragonflies had wingspans of up to 2.5 feet. However, as environmental conditions began to shift, these very factors that had favored their growth also contributed to their decline. One crucial factor was the gradual change in atmospheric conditions. Oxygen levels, which reached their peak during the Carboniferous period, began to decline after this era. This drop in oxygen likely made it increasingly difficult for large insects to survive. Unlike larger animals, insects breathe through a system of tiny tubes, which means their size is limited by their ability to take in sufficient oxygen. As levels fell, it became challenging for these large organisms to maintain their metabolism, leading to population declines. The transition from the Carboniferous to the Permian period brought with it significant changes in the planet's ecosystems. Forests that had previously provided ample habitat for these insects began to change into more open landscapes. This loss of habitat further pressured the giant insect populations. Additionally, the rise of reptiles, which emerged as more efficient predators, created competitive pressures that insects had not faced before. This shift in the food web may have further weakened giant insect species by increasing their vulnerability to predation. Finally, the end of the Permian period was marked by one of the largest mass extinctions in Earth's history, known as the Permian-Triassic extinction event. This catastrophic event led to the loss of a substantial number of species, including many of the largest insects of the time. The combination of changing atmospheric conditions, habitat loss, increased predation, and mass extinction events collectively sealed the fate of these remarkable giants, paving the way for the smaller insects that dominate today's ecosystems. Over millions of years, Earth's atmosphere has undergone significant changes, particularly in the levels of oxygen. During the Carboniferous period, around 300 million years ago, oxygen levels were exceptionally high, reaching nearly 35% compared to the 21% we have today. This abundance of oxygen supported the growth of gigantic insects, such as dragonflies with wingspans of up to 2 feet. The high oxygen concentration allowed these creatures to thrive, as they could rely on diffusion to supply their large bodies with the necessary oxygen for survival. As time progressed, however, the oxygen levels began to decline. By the end of the Carboniferous period and into the Permian period, fluctuations in climate and vegetation, along with the rise of land plants that changed the composition of the atmosphere, led to a decrease in oxygen. The decline continued until it stabilized at levels closer to those we see today. This reduction placed considerable physiological constraints on larger insects. With less oxygen available, the ability of larger bodies to efficiently uptake oxygen through their exoskeletons became increasingly challenging. Insects breathe through small openings called spiracles, which are connected to a system of tubes known as tracheae. As insects grow larger, their body dimensions outpace their ability to move air through these tubes efficiently. Thus, as the oxygen levels dropped, sustaining larger body sizes became more difficult, leading to a natural selection process favoring smaller, more efficient insects. The once mighty giants of the sky slowly vanished, leaving behind smaller relatives better suited to the changing environment. Ultimately, the decline of giant insects illustrates how interconnected life on Earth is with atmospheric conditions. The relationship highlights not just the impact of global changes on ecology, but also underscores the adaptability of life itself. As ecosystems evolved, the pace of specialization and competition shaped the insect world, leading to the diverse array of species we observe today. The age of the dinosaurs was also known for a remarkable group of creatures, giant insects. Some of these creatures, like the dragonfly-like Meganeura, had wingspans reaching nearly 2 feet. However, these giants did not survive the mass extinction that marked the end of the Mesozoic era. Researchers have presented several theories to explain their decline and eventual extinction. One of the leading theories revolves around the changes in oxygen levels in Earth's atmosphere. During the Carboniferous period, around 300 million years ago, oxygen levels were significantly higher than today, allowing insects to grow larger due to more efficient respiration. As the climate changed and oxygen levels dropped, these giant insects found it increasingly difficult to maintain the size that had previously given them an advantage. With changing environments, their ability to survive would have been severely compromised. Another theory suggests that the evolution of birds had a significant impact on insect populations. As these creatures began to take to the skies, they likely developed predatory skills that made them highly effective at hunting insects. The size and agility of giant insects would not have been sufficient to escape the new aerial threats. Over time, this predation pressure could have led to the gradual decline of the larger insect species. Lastly, competition and ecological shifts played a role as well. Insects that evolved into smaller forms adapted much more effectively to various niches within the evolving ecosystems. These smaller insects could reproduce faster, evade predators more easily, and exploit diverse food sources. As a result, smaller insects thrived while their larger counterparts dwindled. Together, these factors illuminate the complex tapestry of life changes that led to the decline of giant insects, marking their place in natural history with wonder and intrigue. The world once teemed with astonishingly large insects, some with wingspans that could rival those of birds. These colossal creatures thrived during the Carboniferous period, a time roughly 300 million years ago when Earth's oxygen levels were significantly higher than today. A combination of lush vegetation and a warm climate created a paradise for these giant arthropods. However, as geological and climatic shifts occurred over millions of years, the conditions that nurtured these creatures began to change dramatically. As the planet transitioned into the Permian period, significant geological shifts kicked in, including the formation of the supercontinent Pangaea. This massive landmass drastically altered habitats and disrupted ecosystems. The unification of continents affected weather patterns, leading to drier conditions and a decrease in the lush, swampy environments that giant insects relied upon for survival. Simultaneously, as oxygen levels began to drop, these creatures faced an increasingly inhospitable atmosphere. The air thinned more than they had adapted to, posing significant respiratory challenges for their giant bodies. Climate changes continued to unfold during the Mesozoic era, often marked by a warmer, more arid climate. Vegetation types shifted as well. Instead of expansive forests dominated by ferns and giant trees, new plant species that better suited the conditions emerged. These new foods were perhaps less suitable for the giant insects, further constraining their niches. While some insects adapted and downscaled their size to cope with these drastic environmental changes, others could not survive, leading to a decline in the diversity of larger species. Ultimately, this interplay between geological movements and climate change set the stage for the extinction of these giant insects. By the time the planet entered the Cenozoic era, the fossil record shows a clear reduction in insect size, a remarkable evolution that traces back to those earlier environmental transformations. The loss of these giant insects serves as a profound reminder of how interconnected life is with the planet's changing conditions, highlighting the delicate balance that sustains biodiversity. Giant insects, those enormous creatures that roamed the Earth during the Carboniferous period, have left an indelible mark on modern ecosystems and the field of evolutionary biology. During this time, insects like dragonflies with wingspans greater than 2 feet and massive millipedes were common due to higher oxygen levels and abundant vegetation. The legacy of these giants can be seen not only in the fossil records, but also in the way we understand insect development and adaptation today. The study of these ancient giants has provided crucial insights into evolutionary biology. By examining how these insects evolved large sizes, scientists have explored concepts like selective pressures and ecological niches. For instance, the size of these creatures likely evolved as a response to the abundant food resources and a lack of large predators. Understanding their adaptations helps modern scientists unravel the complexities of evolution, biodiversity, and the environmental factors that shape life on Earth. Moreover, the concept of size in insects continues to influence current ecological studies. While most insects today are much smaller than their prehistoric relatives, the variations in size among different species are crucial indicators of their adaptive strategies to their environments. For example, larger insects might thrive in certain ecological niches, while smaller ones may be more suited to different environments. This relationship offers a rich field for research, informing conservation efforts and the impact of climate change on modern ecosystems. The legacy of giant insects is woven into the very fabric of our understanding of life's history and complexity. They serve as vital references that help us comprehend the various factors driving evolution and adaptation. The study of these colossal creatures not only enriches evolutionary biology, but also fosters a deeper appreciation for the delicate balance of ecosystems that continue to evolve even in our current age. Insects have thrived on Earth for over 300 million years, evolving through numerous environmental changes and survival challenges. When we speak about ancient insects, we often picture giants that roamed the skies and forests during the Carboniferous period. Some of these colossal creatures, like the dragonfly-like Meganeura, had wingspans that could reach up to 2.5 feet. These remarkable sizes were likely facilitated by the high levels of oxygen in the atmosphere at the time, which allowed insects to grow larger than we typically see today. Today's insects, while considerably smaller than their ancient relatives, exhibit an astonishing range of sizes and forms. The largest insects living now, like the giant wheater of New Zealand, can weigh as much as 4 ounces and measure several inches in length. However, most insects we encounter daily, such as ants and beetles, are significantly smaller. The diversity in size, from these giants to the tiniest ants, showcases the extraordinary adaptability of insects to varied ecological niches. Adaptability is another key area where both ancient and modern insects share a common thread. Modern insects have evolved a broad spectrum of survival strategies that allow them to thrive in diverse environments. From the Arctic tundra to the depths of tropical rainforests, insects can eat a wide variety of foods, reproduce rapidly, and develop resistance to numerous environmental stresses. Ancient insects, too, possessed adaptability, though the pressures they faced were vastly different, often related to primordial climatic shifts. Interestingly, the legacy of those ancient giants is still evident today. Their descendants have undergone significant evolutionary changes, resulting in a remarkable resilience that allows them to fill ecological roles that keep ecosystems balanced. While today's insects may not reach the impressive sizes of their ancient ancestors, their incredible diversity, adaptability, and survival strategies ensure that they remain some of the most successful organisms on our planet. Insects have undergone remarkable evolutionary changes since the time of their giant predecessors, which roamed the Earth hundreds of millions of years ago. During the Carboniferous period, some insects grew to astonishing sizes, with dragonflies boasting wingspans of over 2 feet. This was partly due to higher oxygen levels in the atmosphere, which facilitated larger bodily forms. As oxygen levels have fluctuated throughout Earth's history, modern insects are generally much smaller, adapting to the more stabilized conditions of today's ecosystems. One significant evolutionary shift in modern insects is the development of unique respiratory systems. Unlike the giant insects of the past that had a more limited capacity for oxygen intake, contemporary insects rely on a network of tiny tubes called tracheae. This system allows for efficient gas exchange directly with their tissues, which plays a critical role in supporting their metabolic needs and activities. The result is a diverse group of insects that vary greatly in size, shape, and ecological niches, thriving in almost every environment on the planet. Adaptations have also led to diverse reproductive strategies among modern insects. While giant insects may have had fewer offspring due to their size and longer development periods, today's insects often produce large numbers of eggs to ensure the survival of their species. This strategy helps them withstand predation and environmental challenges, contributing to their incredible diversity. They also exhibit behaviors and traits such as camouflage and mimicry, enhancing their ability to evade predators and compete for resources. Moreover, the evolution of flight has been a critical factor, setting modern insects apart from their ancient counterparts. Today's insects have developed specialized wing structures and flight mechanics that allow for agile movements, essential in escaping dangers and finding food. The constant evolution of these physical traits reflects the dynamic relationship between insects and their environments, highlighting their resilience and adaptability over millions of years. This interplay of evolution continues to shape the vibrant tapestry of life, showcasing insects as some of the most successful organisms on our planet. The study of giant insects offers a fascinating window into the evolution of life on Earth and reveals vital lessons for today's entomologists. One of the primary takeaways is the relationship between size and environmental factors. Giant insects, such as those observed in ancient ecosystems, thrived when atmospheric oxygen levels reached much higher concentrations than today. These historical giants illustrate how environmental variables can shape the physiology and life cycles of species. As modern entomologists explore the adaptations that allowed these insects to grow to such massive sizes, they gain insights into how current organisms might respond to future changes in climate and habitat. Another significant lesson from giant insects is the concept of resource availability. In prehistoric times, when food sources were abundant, conditions favored larger body sizes. This raises important questions about how resource distribution impacts the survival of species in contemporary environments. Today, entomologists can utilize this knowledge to understand how modern insects may adapt to a rapidly changing world, where habitat destruction and pollution might influence their size and population dynamics. Analyzing how these massive insects functioned in their ecosystems can provide clues about resilience and survival strategies in the face of ecological pressures. Studying the anatomy and physiology of giant insects also reveals the limitations of size. As insects grow larger, they encounter biomechanical constraints such as challenges with respiration and mobility. These biological boundaries underscore the intricate balance that nature maintains among various life forms. For entomologists today, this balance is crucial in understanding the evolutionary pressures that shape insect populations. It opens pathways of exploration in fields such as biomimicry, where modern technology can learn from these evolved traits to solve contemporary challenges. Finally, giant insects serve as intriguing models for biodiversity and extinctions. Understanding how these creatures fit within their ecosystems and what factors led to their decline can inform conservation efforts today. By recognizing the fragility of ecosystems and the importance of genetic diversity, today's scientists can better appreciate the need for proactive measures to protect existing insect species. As we look at giant insects from the past, entomologists are reminded of the delicate dance of life and the clear message that every species plays a role in maintaining the balance of our planet. To appreciate the biodiversity of modern insects, we first need to travel back in time to the Carboniferous period, roughly 300 million years ago. During this era, the Earth was a very different place, characterized by lush forests filled with towering ferns and massive trees. Among the thriving vegetation, insects flourished, some evolving to remarkable sizes. Dragonflies with wingspans of nearly 2 feet soared through the skies, while gigantesque millipedes crawled along the forest floor. The warm, oxygen-rich atmosphere of that period allowed these creatures to grow larger than any insects we encounter today. Fast forward to the present day, and insects make up a staggering portion of Earth's biodiversity. There are estimated to be over 10 million species of insects on our planet, with a significant number of them still yet to be described. Modern insects are incredibly diverse, ranging from the minuscule, like the tiny fairy fly that measures only a few millimeters, to larger species like the Goliath beetle, which can weigh more than a small puppy. This variety empowers insects to inhabit nearly every environment on Earth, from the depths of the ocean to the highest mountain peaks. Insects today exhibit a range of adaptations that help them thrive in various ecological niches. Their success lies in their versatile life cycles, diverse feeding habits, and extraordinary reproductive strategies. Some insects have evolved together with plants, forming intricate relationships that facilitate pollination and seed dispersal, while others serve crucial roles in decomposition and nutrient cycling within ecosystems. Comparing the biodiversity of modern insects to that of the Carboniferous period highlights both the incredible resilience of insect life and the dynamic changes in their evolution. Though we no longer see the colossal forms of the past, today's insects thrive in numbers and diversity, showcasing a remarkable adaptation to the myriad of habitats they occupy. The continued study of these creatures offers insights not only into their own evolutionary history, but also into the health and balance of our ecosystems today. Insects are crucial players in our ecosystems, performing roles that can be compared to those of their much larger ancestors, the giant insects that roamed the Earth millions of years ago. These massive creatures, often reaching sizes 2 to 3 times larger than today's insects, thrived in prehistoric times, primarily because of the high levels of oxygen in the atmosphere. Today, despite their smaller size, modern insects have adapted remarkably well and fulfill many of the same ecological roles, contributing to the stability and diversity of their environments. One of the most significant roles that modern insects hold is that of pollinators. Similar to the giant insects of the past, many contemporary species, like bees and butterflies, facilitate the reproduction of flowering plants. This process not only supports the growth of diverse plant life, but also provides food resources for countless organisms, including other insect species, birds, and mammals. By pollinating flowers, insects ensure that plants can produce fruits and seeds, thus playing an essential role in food webs that sustain entire ecosystems. Another vital function fulfilled by modern insects is their role as decomposers. In just about any ecosystem, insects help break down dead plants and animals, recycling nutrients back into the soil. This process is akin to what giant insects would have done during their existence, contributing to nutrient cycling in their environments. Beetles, ants, and termites, for instance, are highly efficient at decomposing organic material, allowing for the growth of new plant life. This not only enriches the soil, but also maintains the balance of ecosystems by preventing the accumulation of waste materials. Lastly, many insects now serve as prey for various predators, mimicking the roles of larger insects from the past. This includes everything from birds and reptiles to amphibians and mammals. As a source of food, modern insects support numerous food chains, reflecting how giant insects once played a similar role in their ecosystems. The interconnected relationships among species ensure that ecological balances are preserved, highlighting the ongoing significance of insects, no matter their size, in maintaining the health and diversity of our planet's ecosystems. The study of ancient climate changes offers invaluable insights into our current climate challenges. By examining past climates, scientists can discern patterns of natural variability, understand the mechanisms that drive climate shifts, and identify previous instances of rapid change. For instance, periods like the Ice Ages and the medieval warm period provide a historical context for how ecosystems and human civilizations adapted to significant environmental shifts. One of the most compelling ancient climates studied is the last major ice age, which ended around 10,000 years ago. Through ice core samples, sediments, and tree rings, researchers have reconstructed temperature and precipitation patterns. They have learned how carbon dioxide levels in the atmosphere correlate with historical temperature changes. Such knowledge is crucial today, allowing us to differentiate between natural climate variability and the unprecedented rate of change driven by human activities. Moreover, understanding how ancient species responded to climate change can inform current efforts in biodiversity conservation. For example, during previous warming events, certain species thrived while others went extinct. This historical perspective helps modern scientists predict which species may be at risk as temperatures rise and ecosystems evolve due to human influences. By analyzing fossil records and ancient habitats, we can gain clues on resilience, adaptation, and even migration patterns, guiding how we manage contemporary wildlife. As we confront modern climate challenges with increased frequency of extreme weather events and shifting weather patterns, looking back at ancient climates reminds us that change is a constant in Earth's history. Armed with this knowledge, society can choose to act strategically, using lessons from the past to build more sustainable futures and protective measures for our planet. Understanding history is essential for navigating the uncertain climate path ahead. During the Carboniferous period, which lasted from about 359 to 299 million years ago, giant insects flourished. This era boasted a unique environment characterized by high levels of oxygen in the atmosphere, reaching up to 35% compared to today's 21%. This elevated oxygen concentration was crucial as it allowed insects to grow larger than we would typically see today. They relied on a system called passive diffusion for respiration, meaning they didn't have lungs but rather absorbed air through small openings in their exoskeletons. Higher oxygen levels meant that larger body sizes could effectively support their respiratory needs. Giant insects were also particularly well adapted to the humid climates typical of their time. The Carboniferous period was marked by extensive forests and reduced rainfall variability, which helped sustain moist environments. These conditions were conducive to the survival of large insects as they required high humidity to prevent desiccation or drying out. Additionally, the abundance of plant life provided ample nutrition, which supported the overall growth of these creatures. However, as the Earth's climate underwent significant changes, leading to lower atmospheric oxygen levels, these giant insects faced challenges. Fluctuating temperatures and changing ecosystems pushed some species to develop new adaptations. Some evolved to become more efficient at processing the reduced oxygen levels, while others took to specialized habitats that maintained more stable moisture levels, such as tropical rainforests or bodies of water. In the end, the adaptability of giant insects during fluctuating climate conditions illustrates a fascinating narrative of survival and evolution. As conditions shifted over millions of years, they either evolved alongside the Earth's changing climate or became extinct. Their legacy remains as a testament to the resilience of life in the face of ever-changing environmental challenges. Insects, often considered the small giants of the natural world, have a remarkable capability to adapt to changing environmental conditions. As climate change increasingly reshapes ecosystems, we observe fascinating parallels between historical and contemporary responses of these creatures. For instance, during past climatic shifts, such as the warming periods at the end of the last ice age, insects adapted by migrating, changing their life cycles and altering their distribution patterns. These strategies allowed them to thrive in new environments, showcasing their resilience even in the face of drastic changes. Today, similar behaviors are unfolding as temperatures rise and weather patterns shift. Many insect species are moving toward cooler regions, either at higher elevations or latitudes, seeking out the conditions that suit their survival. This migration echoes the past, where shifts in climate forced insects to find new habitats. The expansion of species like the pine beetle into previously inhospitable areas offers a poignant example of this pattern, demonstrating the urgency of their response to warming climates. Additionally, the timing of life cycles is also adjusting. Insects are becoming active earlier in the year, timing their reproduction to coincide with the availability of resources. This phenomenon, known as phenology, can lead to mismatches in the ecosystem. For example, if plants bloom earlier than insects can adjust their life cycles, it can disrupt food availability for many creatures that depend on them. This adjustment mirrors historical shifts seen in past epochs, underscoring the notion that while the challenges may have evolved, the underlying responses remain strikingly consistent. Overall, the parallels drawn between past and present responses of insects to climate change serve as a testament to their remarkable adaptability. Yet, as climate change accelerates, the question remains whether today's insects can keep pace with the rapid speed of these environmental shifts. The intricate dance between insects and their surroundings continues to unfold, reminding us of the complex interrelationships present in nature and the enduring challenge of survival in an ever-changing world. During the Carboniferous period, which lasted from approximately 300 million to 350 million years ago, our planet was a remarkably different place. The atmosphere was rich in oxygen, with levels estimated to be around 30% compared to the 21% we breathe today. This abundance of oxygen allowed insects to grow to enormous sizes, leading to the emergence of creatures like the dragonfly-like Meganeura, which had a wingspan of over 2 feet. With today's levels of oxygen, modern insects would not be able to expand dramatically in size under normal conditions. If we were to recreate the high oxygen levels of the Carboniferous period, we might witness some fascinating transformations in insect physiology. The increased oxygen would improve respiration efficiency, potentially allowing species like dragonflies or beetles to grow larger. Larger body sizes could provide advantages such as reduced predation risk or the ability to cover more ground in search of food. However, size is not the only factor. Other environmental aspects, including temperature and humidity, would also play crucial roles in determining how modern insects might thrive. Moreover, modern insects have developed various adaptations over millions of years, influenced by changes in climate and the introduction of new predators. Their current sizes and behaviors are closely tied to these adaptations, and some species might struggle in a high-oxygen environment due to the lack of similar evolutionary pressures present during the Carboniferous. The dynamics of the ecosystem would shift significantly, forcing insects to compete with one another differently and contend with potential impacts from other species that might also adapt. In conclusion, while modern insects might physically flourish in an environment reminiscent of the Carboniferous, the overall effects would be complex. They could grow larger and explore new niches, but they would also face new challenges that come from their interactions with the ecosystem. The marvels of evolution show us how adaptable life can be, even when presented with conditions resembling the distant past. Understanding past biodiversity is essential for shaping effective conservation strategies in our contemporary world. The fossil record serves as a window into the rich tapestry of life that once thrived on Earth, revealing how various species adapted to changing environments and the impact of past mass extinctions. By studying these historical patterns, scientists can identify which species are highly resilient to environmental shifts and which are more vulnerable, providing critical insights into how current ecosystems might respond to climate change and habitat loss. Additionally, knowledge of past biodiversity allows us to recognize the ecological roles that different organisms played in their ecosystems. For instance, examining how certain species contributed to nutrient cycling, food webs, and ecosystem stability can inform conservationists about the vital functions that need to be preserved today. This holistic understanding helps prioritize efforts to protect not just individual species, but also the intricate relationships between them, ensuring that ecosystems remain balanced and resilient. Moreover, historical data can guide the reintroduction of species into ecosystems where they have been lost. A clear understanding of the past distribution and abundance of species can help determine the most suitable habitats for re-establishment. When we replicate these past ecosystems, we can potentially enhance biodiversity and restore ecological functions that have been disrupted. This approach is especially significant in areas severely impacted by human activities. Finally, the lessons learned from past biodiversity also emphasize the importance of preserving genetic diversity. Species that once thrived may have diminished due to environmental changes or human impacts. By maintaining a wide genetic pool, current conservation practices can help ensure that populations are adaptable and capable of coping with future changes. This synergy between the past and present underscores the importance of using historical insights to foster a healthier planet for future generations. The stories of giant insects have woven themselves into the fabric of mythology and folklore across various cultures, illustrating a profound fascination with the natural world and the unknown. From ancient civilizations to modern tales, these creatures often symbolize attributes such as strength, menace, and transformation. The cultural significance of insects, particularly when imagined at a much larger scale, serves to personify fears, lessons, and the mysteries of nature itself. In many mythologies, insects are portrayed as diligent workers or formidable foes. Consider the industrious ant often found in fables. This tiny creature, when imagined as a giant, represents hard work and community effort, inspiring tales of collaboration and perseverance against adversity. Meanwhile, folklore from different regions highlights mythical beasts resembling giant insects as guardians or tricksters, adding layers of complexity to their roles within stories. For instance, the large and fearsome praying mantis has been depicted in various cultures as a symbol of cunning and survival, embodying both awe and respect. It's also worth noting that many societies have linked the existence of larger-than-life insects with spiritual beliefs. In some Native American cultures, the grasshopper is viewed as a symbol of change and transformation. Legends often describe favorable outcomes brought forth by the abilities of these creatures to leap great distances, depicting them as messengers between realms. Such depictions reinforce the notion that nature itself holds secrets and powers deserving of reverence and contemplation. Moreover, modern literature and media have continued this theme, often exaggerating the traits of insects to drive home moral and ethical lessons through the lens of science fiction and horror. Films portraying giant insects echo the ancient tales, showcasing how society's fears about the natural world are reflected in these monstrous representations. Through these narratives, tales of giant insects remind us of humanity's ongoing struggle to coexist with nature's extremes, revealing our fascination with the intricate balance of power and vulnerability within the ecosystem. Throughout history, different cultures have crafted fascinating myths and interpretations surrounding the concept of gigantic insects. These towering creatures often symbolize various themes such as power, transformation, and the fear of nature's unpredictability. For many, insects represent the intricate web of life, yet when exaggerated in size, they evoke wonder, terror, and awe. In various mythologies, enormous insects are depicted as formidable forces, often serving as guardians of sacred spaces or as harbingers of significant change. In ancient Egyptian culture, for example, the scarab beetle held monumental significance. Revered as symbols of rebirth and protection, scarabs were believed to carry the sun across the sky. The notion of a giant scarab, though less common, would amplify these themes, possibly illustrating the overwhelming influence of natural forces on human life. Similarly, in Asian folklore, giant dragonflies are sometimes seen as embodiments of prosperity and good fortune, suggesting that even when nature is exaggerated, it can yield positive interpretations. Conversely, some cultures have used the imagery of giant insects to express fears and anxieties. The colossal mantises and spiders that appear in popular stories and films often reflect societal worries about loss of control or the unknown. In literature and cinema, these exaggerated versions often prey on human vulnerabilities, evoking a mix of fascination and dread. They serve as metaphors for the chaos and unpredictability of the natural world, reminding us of our smallness in the vast cosmos. Additionally, the portrayal of gigantic insects in modern popular culture, such as in movies and literature, continues to feed our imagination. These stories often combine elements of science fiction with ancient folklore, generating new interpretations while tapping into age-old fears. By exploring the cultural meanings tied to these monstrous creatures, we uncover a rich tapestry of human thought, reflecting our relationship with nature and our attempts to understand our place within it. Indigenous stories and beliefs often weave together the ancient past and the natural world, creating a tapestry of meaning that reflects a deep understanding of their environment. The era of giant insects, which spanned hundreds of millions of years ago, is a fascinating backdrop for these narratives. While not all indigenous cultures have documented stories specifically about giant insects, many incorporate elements of the natural world in ways that echo their tremendous presence. For instance, large insects like dragonflies and praying mantises can feature prominently in folklore as symbols of transformation, agility, and strength. These characteristics may be influenced by the massive insect relatives of the past. Further, the occasional discovery of large fossils can inspire reflections on the interconnectedness of life, reminding communities of the powerful forces that have shaped the Earth over eons. This intrinsic link indicates a reverence for the past, where creatures seen today may have ancestral ties to beings once much larger. Moreover, the concept of balance in nature is prevalent across various indigenous traditions. Stories of giant insects might serve as cautionary tales about the responsibilities that come with power and size. In this way, giant insects can represent both the wonders and dangers of nature, reinforcing the idea that all creatures, regardless of size, play a vital role in the ecosystem. This connection to the ancient past can serve as a reminder to respect all forms of life and their histories. Lastly, the spirituality infused in these stories often encourages respect for the mysterious forces of nature. By linking the past with the present, these narratives invite contemplation about humanity's place in the natural world. This reverent attitude is particularly poignant when considering the giants of the past, inspiring curiosity about what other mysteries lie hidden beneath the surface of our understanding. Ultimately, the era of giant insects, while distant, continues to ripple through cultural stories, reflecting a timeless relationship between humans and the natural world. Throughout history, giant insects have captured the human imagination, inspiring artistic expressions across a variety of cultures. From ancient cave paintings to contemporary films, these colossal creatures have served as symbols of nature's might, transformation, and sometimes even terror. In many societies, artists have utilized these formidable elements to explore themes of survival, adaptation, and the intricate balance of ecosystems. In ancient cultures, such as those in Mesoamerica, depictions of insects in their larger-than-life forms often conveyed religious or mythological significance. The Aztecs, for example, revered certain insect species, representing them in sculptures and pottery that emphasized their importance in agriculture and balance within nature. These representations were not just artistic endeavors. They communicated the deep respect these cultures had for the interconnectedness of all life forms and the lessons that could be drawn from them. As time progressed, giant insects became a prominent feature in literature and folklore. Stories from around the world illustrate humans confronting these oversized beings, which often serve as metaphors for overwhelming challenges and adversities. In modern literature and cinema, these themes are vividly depicted through genres such as science fiction and horror, where giant insects symbolize the unforeseen consequences of human actions, particularly in relation to environmental issues and the manipulation of nature. In visual arts, especially during the Surrealist movement, artists explored the uncanny and the grotesque, frequently employing giant insects as subjects of intrigue. Surrealism often reflects the subconscious mind, and the presence of enlarged insects evokes a sense of wonder and a feeling of disorientation, inviting viewers to confront their fears and fascination with the natural world. This artistic lineage reflects humanity's ongoing relationship with these creatures, blending fear, admiration, and a deep curiosity that continues to resonate in our culture today. Giant insects have captured the imagination of various cultures around the globe, often embodying a wealth of symbolic meanings. In many societies, large insects represent transformation and change, highlighting their remarkable life cycles. Take the life of a butterfly, for instance, which metamorphoses from a caterpillar. This notion of transformation resonates deeply with the idea of personal growth and rebirth, encouraging individuals to embrace change in their own lives. In some indigenous cultures, giant insects can signify strength and resilience. The sheer size of these creatures inspires awe and reflects the power of nature. For example, in certain Native American traditions, the grasshopper is seen as a symbol of fearlessness and resourcefulness. This symbolism extends to how people might view challenges in their lives, seeing obstacles as opportunities for growth, much like how a grasshopper must leap forward to survive. Moreover, giant insects can also represent the interconnectedness of life. They serve as ecological indicators, reflecting the health of their environment. Societies that revere nature often see these creatures as reminders of the delicate balance within ecosystems. Such perspectives can instill a sense of responsibility toward the earth, emphasizing the importance of conservation and respect for all forms of life, no matter how small or large. Interestingly, giant insects often appear in folklore and mythology, where they take on both heroic and monstrous qualities. This duality reflects humanity's complex relationship with nature, sometimes seen as protectors, like the revered praying mantis, or as terrifying entities, such as those in horror stories. These interpretations capture the spectrum of human emotion toward the natural world. Through these symbolic meanings, giant insects remind us of the myriad lessons nature has to offer. The era of giant insects, known as the Carboniferous period, continues to captivate the imaginations of scientists and enthusiasts alike. These remarkable creatures roamed the Earth approximately 300 million years ago, showcasing sizes and forms far beyond what we see today. To expand our understanding of these magnificent arthropods, future research is poised to delve into several exciting areas. One promising avenue is paleogenomics, which involves studying the DNA and genetic material of fossilized insects. By analyzing remnants of ancient genetic information, scientists can piece together the evolutionary history of these giants and understand their biological adaptations to the Carboniferous environment. Advanced imaging techniques, such as scanning electron microscopy, can provide detailed insights into their morphology, revealing features that suggest how they thrived in a world abundant with oxygen and lush vegetation. Another significant area of research lies in the study of the environmental conditions of the Carboniferous period. By examining ancient climates and atmospheric composition, scientists can uncover factors that might have contributed to the enormous sizes of insects then. Comparing these findings with current ecosystems may provide clues about the limitations faced by today's insects, including factors like oxygen levels and predation, which are thought to restrict their growth. Lastly, interdisciplinary collaborations between paleontologists, entomologists, and ecologists could further enrich our understanding. By integrating knowledge from various scientific fields, researchers can create comprehensive models of ancient ecosystems. This holistic approach not only enhances our comprehension of giant insects, but also sheds light on how life on Earth adapts to changing environments over millions of years, helping us appreciate the delicate balance that exists within our planet's ecosystems today. The study of giant insects offers a captivating window into evolutionary biology and environmental science. These remarkable creatures, which thrived during the Paleozoic era, display fascinating adaptations that resonate with today's scientific inquiries. Understanding how these insects grew to immense sizes, often exceeding the dimensions we observe today, can enlighten researchers about the evolutionary pressures and environmental conditions that shape life on Earth. One primary area of interest is the relationship between atmospheric conditions and insect size. Fossil evidence suggests that during the Carboniferous period, oxygen levels were significantly higher than they are now. This leads scientists to speculate about the physiological limits of insect respiration and how these creatures adapted to maximize oxygen intake. Studying those ancient giants can help clarify how changes in the atmosphere influence the evolution of species, which in turn can inform contemporary environmental issues such as pollution and climate change. Moreover, giant insects exhibit unique ecological roles that could influence our understanding of modern ecosystems. As predators or herbivores, they interacted with their environments in ways that can provide insights into nutrient cycles and food webs. By examining these social dynamics, scientists can gain a deeper appreciation for how biodiversity plays a role in ecosystem stability and health, which is crucial as we face diminishing habitats and species loss today. Finally, these ancient arthropods inspire modern biotechnology. Their extraordinary physical characteristics might pave the way for innovations in materials science and engineering. For example, studying insect exoskeletons could lead to the development of new biodegradable materials or bio-inspired designs for robotics. Thus, the legacy of giant insects is more than a glimpse into the past. It serves as a guiding light for future innovations in biological and environmental sciences. The era of giant insects flourished during the Carboniferous period, roughly 300 million years ago, when atmospheric oxygen levels peaked at about 35%. This remarkable environment allowed insects to grow to astonishing sizes. To understand this ancient world better, scientists are exploring various potential technologies that could help replicate those conditions in a controlled setting. One of the most intriguing technologies in this endeavor is virtual reality. By creating immersive simulations, researchers can model the climates, ecosystems, and even the behaviors of these colossal insects. Virtual reality allows us to visualize and interact with environments that no longer exist, offering insights into how these creatures may have thrived. This method could also help in understanding how changes in atmosphere, temperature, and other factors influence their size and evolution. Another promising area of research is the development of advanced atmospheric simulation chambers. These controlled environments can mimic the high oxygen levels of the Carboniferous period. By carefully regulating air composition, temperature, and humidity, scientists can study how insects respond to conditions similar to those of their prehistoric ancestors. Such chambers could allow researchers to experiment with various species, observing growth patterns and behaviors under these unique conditions. Lastly, the use of genetic engineering and biotechnology could illuminate how insects adapted to their environment. By examining the genes associated with growth and respiration, scientists can gain insights into the physiological processes that allowed insects to reach such impressive sizes. This understanding could not only shed light on the past, but also inform current studies on how insects might adapt to changing environmental conditions today. Together, these technologies represent a fascinating intersection of science and history, helping to unravel the mysteries of our planet's ancient biosphere. When we think of the age of giant insects, we are transported back to a time approximately 300 million years ago during the Carboniferous period. It was a world filled with towering plants and soaring oxygen levels, creating the perfect conditions for insects to grow to incredible sizes. Dragonflies with wingspans of nearly 2 feet and massive millipedes thrived in lush, humid environments. Each fossil discovery from this era tends to paint a more vivid picture of a planet that was once dominated by these incredible creatures, sparking our curiosity about their lives and ecosystems. As researchers continue to unearth fossils and use advanced technologies like three-dimensional imaging, our understanding of these ancient insects is constantly evolving. These new findings have the potential to reveal intricate details about their biology, behavior, and interactions with their environment. Imagine discovering that these insects had complex social structures or unique predatory strategies that mirror some of today's living species. Such insights could radically alter our perception of how life once operated on Earth, showcasing a dynamic and more interconnected ecological system than previously imagined. Moreover, advancements in genetic analysis may allow scientists to delve deeper into the evolutionary relationships of these ancient insects. By examining the DNA of modern relatives, researchers might uncover adaptations that have persisted over millions of years, providing clues to how these gigantic ancestors thrived. This could transform our understanding of their ecological roles and survival strategies, demonstrating not just their grandeur, but also their resilience in changing environments. Future discoveries might also prompt us to reconsider the factors that influence their extinction. With a clearer picture of their life cycles, habitats, and other species interactions, we may learn why such colossal insects disappeared, paving the way for a new narrative about Earth's history. By connecting these findings to contemporary issues like climate change and biodiversity, we can better appreciate the complexities of life on our planet, inviting us to reflect on our own relationship with nature as we look toward the future. The study of prehistoric life forms, particularly giant insects that thrived in ancient ecosystems, is a fascinating area of research. One of the next frontiers in this field is the exploration of environmental factors that contributed to the size of these creatures. During the Carboniferous period, for instance, levels of oxygen were significantly higher than they are today. This abundant oxygen allowed insects to grow to remarkable sizes. Scientists are now investigating how changes in climate and atmospheric conditions might have influenced the evolution of these giants, offering insights into their biological adaptations and eventual decline. Another promising frontier involves advanced imaging and fossil analysis technology. Recent innovations in CT scanning allow researchers to investigate fossilized remains in incredible detail, revealing hidden structures that were previously invisible. This technology opens up opportunities to study the anatomy and physiology of these giant insects, shedding light on their respiratory systems, which were likely adapted to take advantage of the higher oxygen levels. Understanding how these systems functioned can help scientists build a clearer picture of not only the insect's size, but also how life on Earth has adapted over millions of years. In addition to technological advances, the genomic study of ancient organisms is a burgeoning field. Extracting and analyzing DNA from well-preserved specimens can provide significant insights into the genetic makeup of these prehistoric life forms. By comparing ancient DNA to modern relatives, researchers can track evolutionary changes, helping us understand how traits were selected for, allowing insects to achieve such impressive proportions in their environments. Lastly, studying the relationship between these insects and their ecosystems can reveal much about prehistoric Earth. Understanding the roles these giant insects played in their habitats, such as their position in the food web, could illuminate ecological dynamics that influenced evolution. As we uncover more about the intricate connections in ancient ecosystems, we gain a clearer picture of how life on Earth has continually evolved, adapting to changing conditions throughout its history. The study of giant insects has led scientists to some truly fascinating discoveries, revealing insights into evolutionary biology, climate change, and the limits of natural selection. One unexpected finding is the connection between the size of insects and the atmospheric conditions of the Earth millions of years ago. Scientists have uncovered fossils of insects, such as dragonflies with wingspans of nearly 2.5 feet, dating back to the Carboniferous period. During that time, higher oxygen levels may have allowed insects to grow much larger than those today, challenging our understanding of how size is limited in modern ecosystems. Another surprising revelation relates to the oxygen availability needed for these creatures to thrive. As essential as oxygen is for all aerobic life, insects breathe through a system of tubes called tracheae. This can be inefficient for larger bodies. Interestingly, scientists have discovered that some prehistoric insects had adaptations that allowed them to maximize their oxygen intake. This raises questions about current air pollution and climate variations, as lower oxygen levels today may impose restrictions on insect size and biodiversity, showing an interplay between the environment and evolutionary traits. Research in this field also highlights unexpected behavioral adaptations in giant insect species. For instance, some giant insects exhibit social behaviors and collaborative survival techniques that were previously considered unique to mammals or birds. Observations of giant stick insects and their group behaviors have provided new perspectives on how size can influence social structures, ultimately shedding light on the complexities of animal interactions. Finally, the study of giant insects has sparked conversations about their ecological impact. Giant insects were once predominant in ecosystems, and by studying their ancient roles, researchers are gaining insights into today's ecosystems and their fragility. Surprisingly, the extinction of many large insect species is linked to human activity. This has important implications for biodiversity and conservation efforts, emphasizing that understanding the past can guide us in protecting the intricate web of life on Earth today. Amateur fossil hunters have played an invaluable role in enhancing our understanding of giant insects, particularly those that thrived during the Carboniferous period, around 300 million years ago. At a time when the atmosphere was rich in oxygen, these insects grew to remarkable sizes, with some dragonflies boasting wingspans of nearly 2 feet. Through their enthusiasm and dedication, amateur paleontologists have uncovered fossil specimens that provide key insights into the diversity and biology of these extraordinary creatures. These enthusiastic individuals often work in areas where professional researchers may not have the resources or time to explore. Regions rich in geological formations, where ancient sediments are exposed, are frequently scoured by hobbyists seeking fossils. Their efforts have led to the discovery of important sites and new species that contribute to our understanding of insect evolution. Many of these amateur hunters possess a keen eye for detail, allowing them to identify and collect fossils that could otherwise go unnoticed. Moreover, through the sharing of their findings, whether through online forums, local fossil clubs, or social media, amateur fossil hunters have fostered a community that engages in discussions and exchanges knowledge with researchers. When specimens are documented and reported to museums or universities, they help fill gaps in the fossil record. Each new discovery adds depth to our understanding of how these colossal insects interacted with their environment, including their predatory behaviors and the plants they depended upon during their existence. The collaboration between amateur fossil hunters and professional paleontologists not only boosts scientific knowledge, but also ignites public interest in natural history. In a world where scientific exploration can sometimes seem distant, the stories and discoveries from these enthusiastic hunters connect everyday people to the awe-inspiring journey of Earth's ancient past, making the study of giant insects both accessible and fascinating. Throughout history, numerous serendipitous events have significantly advanced our understanding of giant insects. One notable instance occurred in the early 19th century when researchers began discovering fossilized remains of large arthropods in coal mines. These finds were unexpected, yet they revealed giants of the past, such as dragonflies with wingspans over 2 feet. These remarkable fossils prompted scientists to investigate the environmental conditions necessary for such enormous sizes, leading to the understanding of oxygen levels in prehistoric ecosystems. Another fascinating breakthrough was the accidental discovery of the giant weta in New Zealand in the 20th century. Initially classified as a small insect, later studies revealed that some species of weta could weigh more than a small bird. This unexpected finding sparked interest in the factors that contribute to their size, including isolation on small islands and the lack of predatory mammals. This highlighted the important role that unique evolutionary paths play in producing giant insects in isolated environments. Additionally, advances in technology have often provided unexpected insights into the world of giant insects. The development of high-resolution imaging and study of genetics has allowed scientists to better understand their biology and behavior. For instance, researchers stumbled upon giant water bugs displaying surprising predatory behaviors. As scientists began documenting these behaviors in detail, they uncovered a complex system of communication and mating rituals that had gone unnoticed before. These unanticipated discoveries underscore the importance of curiosity and open-minded investigation in scientific research. Each serendipitous finding not only enhances our understanding of giant insects, but also invites us to explore further into the intricate web of life that supports such fascinating creatures. These events remind us that the natural world holds many surprises, waiting to be uncovered with each new inquiry. Citizen scientists have played a crucial role in uncovering the mysteries of giant insects, acting as both observers and active researchers. These enthusiastic individuals, often with no formal training in entomology or science, contribute significantly by collecting data and observations in their local environments. They report sightings of large insects, observe their behaviors, and document changes in populations. This grassroots effort allows scientists and researchers to gather a wealth of information over broader geographical areas than traditional methods might allow. One of the fascinating aspects of citizen science in this realm is its ability to capture phenomena that professional researchers may miss. For instance, during periods where large insects emerge or behave differently, local citizens are often the first to notice and report unusual sizes, mating habits, or migration patterns. This collective knowledge becomes invaluable, particularly when it comes to understanding the impact of environmental changes. Observations shared online can even lead to unexpected discoveries about species that were previously unknown or poorly understood. Additionally, citizen scientists contribute to data sets that help track historical trends in insect sizes and populations over time. This information can reveal potential correlations between large insect populations and factors such as climate change, habitat destruction, and pesticide use. These collaborations with the scientific community enable researchers to compile and analyze data more efficiently, informing studies that might lead to important conservation efforts and strategies for preventing the decline of insect populations. The combined ingenuity and passion of citizen scientists not only enrich our understanding of giant insects, but also spark public interest and awareness about the essential roles these creatures play in our ecosystems. By bridging the gap between ordinary people and professional researchers, citizen scientists help us advance our knowledge of the natural world and deepen our appreciation for its intricacies. Their contributions remind us that the pursuit of scientific knowledge is not confined to laboratories, but thrives in the hands of curious individuals everywhere. The portrayal of giant insects in film and documentaries has undergone a remarkable transformation over the years. In the early days of cinema, filmmakers relied on practical effects and rudimentary animatronics to bring these creatures to life. Movies from the mid-20th century utilized oversized props or models, often combined with forced perspective to create the illusion of scale. This method, while innovative for its time, often lacked the realism that modern audiences expect. As technology advanced, filmmakers began to incorporate stop-motion animation, which allowed for greater fluidity and detail in the portrayal of giant insects. Classic films like Them featured meticulously crafted models that were painstakingly animated frame by frame, producing a captivating yet somewhat artificial look. This technique helped enhance the storytelling, despite its limitations in how the creatures interacted with their surroundings convincingly. With the advent of computer-generated imagery in the late 20th century, the representation of giant insects took a significant leap forward. This technology offered filmmakers the flexibility to create highly detailed and dynamic movements that traditional methods struggled to achieve. Films like Starship Troopers showcased not only the insects themselves, but also their interactions within larger environments, giving viewers a more immersive experience. The realism in textures, lighting, and motion has transformed how audiences perceive these creatures, pushing the boundaries of believability. In recent years, the rise of high-definition filming techniques and the use of drone technology have added new layers of depth to documentaries featuring giant insects. Filmmakers can now capture these creatures in their natural habitats with stunning clarity and detail. Additionally, advanced visual effects allow for an exploration of their ecosystems and behaviors that was previously unattainable. This evolution in filming and documenting techniques ensures that both educational and entertaining depictions of giant insects continue to captivate audiences, fostering an ongoing curiosity about the natural world. Imagine a world where giant insects roamed the Earth alongside us. If these colossal creatures had survived and adapted to modern-day ecosystems, the landscape of our planet would be profoundly different. Insects like dragonflies, which could reach the size of small birds, would dominate the skies. Their wings, stretching several feet wide, would create a dazzling display as they flit about, hunting both smaller insects and perhaps even small mammals. Such adaptations would change the dynamics of food chains, introducing new predatory relationships. On the ground, we might see